It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Hey, what's up? And happy Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Sorry, starting a little late. My audio's on. My audio's all super loud. I'm just totally not prepared for any of you. I'm so unprofessional. My guest though is very professional, very big time, big two creator now. I'm very excited to bring him out. But first we got a little housekeeping to do. Real quick, I just want to remind everybody, y'all know like I work at Metal Ninja Studios. We have a Kickstarter going right now for the Dust County Chronicles Anniversary Edition. 5 years ago, Joel made these horror shorts, and now we've recollected them. We've upgraded the art and the production, and we re-lettered it, and we bundled everything together into one big horror one shot. Very, very cool book. It's really awesome. We got some awesome variants and some cool stuff. You go to mnskickstarter.com to check that out. And I know things are tight right now, and not everybody can back everybody's campaign. I get it, but sharing is, as a grade school teacher once said, sharing is caring and caring is fun, everybody. So get out there, pass it around, share it on the socials. We really, really appreciate that. It really helps. And also you go to blakesbuzz.com, check out some other campaigns I'm doing right now. I'm helping Ryland Grant, Peacekeepers is going, Will Allred's crossover division, Stephen Prince's Monster Matador, I think has a few minutes left if you guys want to get on that. And everybody who backs at a physical level, by the way, because we reached a record number of backers in Monster Matador, everybody has a chance to win a Monster Matador hoodie if you're a physical backer. So go over there, blakesbuzz.com, check out all this stuff. It's wrapping up. Matt Assorcier's Sacrimony, another campaign. There's links everywhere. You guys can all go check it out. Anyways, enough rambling. I know. I'm sorry. I'm still fucking little chatterbox. All right. The reason why we're all here tonight, self-included, I met this guy. I don't, like him and this really cool dude, Jared Luhan, were making some really awesome comics. And I met them way back in, I don't even know, like early Blake's Buzz, when it used to be like the panel of clusterfuckery, and I was hammered and everybody was on, there was all too many guests, and it was, the shows went too long, and apparently everybody misses this, I heard the other day. So maybe, anyways, long story short, met these guys long time ago when they were just wee indie creators doing cool things in crowdfunding, and now they're in the big two, and they've been in Image, they're at DC. It's amazing. Everybody, you know him, I know him, and we all love him. Matt Harding's in the house. What's up, dude? Oh my God, it's Matt Harding. It's Matt Harding.
Is that an ovation?
Man, you guys know that live stream
that really gets you going,
doesn't it? I'm hyped. I'm juiced up. It's the drugs. No, I'm just kidding. How you been?
How's it going?
Good. Happy to have you back on the show. And honestly, man, cannot express how cool it is, how proud of you I am, how I've always been proud to know you as a creator, and the stuff you've done, and the support you've shown me and my show, and just how you're one of the people that we had a good time, hit it off, stayed in touch, right? So it's been cool to get to know you, over the years now, and it's just crazy because I feel you told me a few months ago that something big was going on, but you couldn't talk about it yet. You're like, I'm gonna need to come on the show, and it very cryptic chat, by the way, right?
Well, I also find an excuse.
Hey,
I also find an excuse to come on the show because I love hanging out with you and talking to you. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go on the Blake's Buzz. That's what I'm going to do.
See, that's why I do the show, right? A lot of people think I do it for the money. I don't make money for Blake's Buzz. I make money doing comic book production, by the way, for Metal Ninja. But like, so it's not really money, and the glamour, yeah, a little bit. It's the love and adoration, and just like that's another reason why I love like the Kickstarter crowdfunding community, is because like that's where a lot of you guys came up from. And I kind of feel like for comics and crowdfunding, it's like how regular people should work in the service industry for a couple years to like learn how to act in fucking public, right? And I feel like comic book creators should all have to do like a crowdfunded campaign to learn how to fucking act in public, right?
Dude.
Like, I mean, can we make that a rule?
100%. People should self-publish. Yeah. I mean, that is one of the things I think is actually the most important. This, I don't know if you want me to start answering questions already, but that wasn't even a question, but I'm going to answer it. Is that I definitely think I agree with that 100%. And because I my day job is working at a publisher, right? Mm-hmm. I do production and design department, and you meet a lot of interesting creators, and some of them you kind of tell who started self-publishing first and who got like a publishing deal first.
Oh.
Like there's a big difference, because the people who started self-publishing and did that work, they're like the easiest people to work with. They're like, oh, you're going to, advertise this stuff for me? Oh, hell yeah. You're going to, like, I'm going to do this, and this. I know how to, do all the different, technical things already, because they all had to letter their own comics and do all their own stuff and know how to work with printers and stuff like that. So they're like so easy to work with, because they've done all the hard stuff. They've done all the do it your DIY stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, I think it's really, if you want to make comics, even if you are like a 15-year-old Neil Gaiman, you should still make your own first, just so you can get all the practice of doing it.
Yeah, and that sweat and fear and like, is it gonna fund, and that the refreshing, and like, and then the after, then like once it funds, then like the stress of fulfillment, and once like the packages go out, and if are any of them gonna get returned, or show up, you should have to deal with that, right? Like working in a Kansas City dive bar when the Royals won the World Series, and you see what you're fucking made of on those nights, man. Like
totally, and then also like a Kickstarter, you don't make money. You even if your Kickstarter makes a lot, the way it always works out is you end up coming out of pocket, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care if you made, your Kickstarter was like 75 grand or something, and it looks like you're a wild success. You always end up coming out of pocket. And I think that makes a big difference too, because there's a lot of creators that are like, why am I not making $500,000 off of this comic through this publisher, But like me, if I were to make, a couple $1,000s in royalties off a comic, I'm jazzed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh dang, yeah. I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because that's a good point, because when your Kickstarters do start making a lot of money, that means people are buying more books, right? I mean, unless like 1 million people back at your digital tier, and you luck out that way or something, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I cashed out and don't have to worry about fulfillment. It's done. Just click send. But it never happens that way. But yeah, the more money goes up, the more books have to be ordered, the more shipping supplies, and yes, things do get cheaper when you can order more, but it's still a hefty payment, right? I mean, it's not. That's one thing I've learned doing production, is how much like when we order stickers and stuff for clients, like you order a few hundred stickers, and a few hundred stickers, or a bookmark, and some plates, and a magnet, and some silly shit, and like you're hundreds of dollars, up to like thousands, like if you're getting like a lanyard or something, and
then postage.
Oh yeah, and then you got to mail it all. Then you got to get it all into a package and send it. Make sure the package is safe, right? Especially if you're doing like higher end like metal foil variants and stuff, right? Because like, man, you pay $30 for a variant or something on Kickstarter, and it shows up like in a yellow envelope, like like
right.
You got to that never really happens, and but like. It's just everything ends up costing more money, and I think every year it costs more money to ship shit, right?
It does, yeah.
And like both like in country and like internet, especially internationally. But it's just like, yeah, it's no one. It's like no one wants to help anybody make comics. Not the world, not the government, not people. Just like,
we're kind of
everybody's against us.
It's so niche that it's just not on anybody's radar, And there's parts about the business that are great because of that.
Yeah.
Like I mean, comics has always been like a very forward-thinking, progressive medium because the government doesn't really pay attention. But then you get things like monopolies and stuff like that, and the government doesn't pay attention, So like there's really it's kind of like a pirate medium, which is one of the things I like about it. Even like some of the biggest publishers are still have aspects of like a pirate medium,
Wow, I like that. It makes
thought you
comics
would.
sound a lot cooler than they are. Like, I mean, their comics are very cool. Obviously, I wouldn't like dedicate my sole fucking existence to them if I was like, I was like, I'm just really not into them anymore. I'm just bored a lot, guys. I just need a new hobby. No, I did hear that somewhere though, like some smart person on like a video, like a short or something, like in between like cute dog videos, funny videos, and videos that are making me pretty sure I've had ADHD for a really long time, like like self-diagnosis terribleness videos. Like in between those, this deal popped up, and it was like, when you get your, if you start getting close to your dream job and that becomes work, like you need to find a new hobby. And I was like, fuck, I can't afford a new hobby. I was like, I did kind of start playing video games a little bit when I can, but like you mentioned, we do comics now, and it's like, if you want to stay doing comics, there's not a lot of lulls. You gotta keep hustling. When you're like, I don't know if I can hire or if I can be hired by any more clients, you got to be like, oh, we'll try one more and then see what, like you gotta keep pushing. Like,
you don't want to say no either, right? Like
that's
the
like
thing.
Because then what if they never ask again? Speaking of, what if the chat says hi and I ignore them and they never say hi again? I'm so bad at this. Let's say hi to everybody real quick. I always stop the show to congratulate myself on my stellar segues, and that was one of the best. I think that was pretty good. We got Pierre was hanging out, just waiting for us to come on. Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you. Ron is in the chat. What's up, dude? Happy to see you. Let's see, and then we got the Letterer Supreme, Justin Birch, dropping by to say hi to Matt. I still can't believe I had Justin on the show a while back, and I was familiar with his work and was familiar with him, but his camera comes on and he's got fucking rows of display.
Oh, I know. I'm so jealous.
Oh my
Justin's
God!
Toy collection.
Not only all the hot toys, but like in case
what I have back here, it just looks like crap compared to Justin. Like, I don't even look at this, Justin. It's nothing. All right.
Hey, I do see that Magneto helmet though. Like,
oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I almost bought it because it went on sale on Amazon like a month ago. It was like $69.
I was drunk. I was like, when I first saw the first advertisement, I was out drinking with friends, and I was like, I gotta get that, and I was just like, buy it.
Yeah.
And then I forgot, and then it showed up.
Oh, nice. I was gonna get one because I have in-ear monitors, and I was gonna get one and stream in it. And I was like, but I have a pretty big fat head, so I was worried about it. I was worried about it fitting, and I was just worried about it being like comfy. I was like, is this gonna be stupid? And then I was like, I mean, it'd be a cool display piece, but I'm running out of places to put things, and so it's like, it's just like more shit. I gotta be careful. But yeah, anyway, I could not believe, I was like, Justin's like collection and everything's just in glass and fancy. And then he was like, he sold a lot of it. I remember online, he was like trying to buy some fucking nerdy little Spider-Man book. I was like, no, what are you doing? And then at the same time, I'm like, what if you just bought some of those cool figures? And I was like, no, like the only reason I have Hot Toys anything is because they used to do payment plans. Well, they still do payment plans, but they used to do kinder payment plans that were a little more stretched out, right? And like now, like everything's like they want you to do like almost like $100 payments for figures, and I was like, they used to do like $50 ones, and so like I have the original Guardians of the Galaxy set, and I have Grogu. Oh, wow. Like I've a full size replica Grogu.
I only have Hellboy, the movie Hellboy.
Oh shit!
I went into a comic store when somebody had just sold it to the guy, like 5 minutes before, and he sold it to me for $20. I think not knowing what he had, and I was like, I will buy that.
That's
Fastest $20
crazy.
I ever. Yeah, I really want to get the Spider-Punk, the movie Spider-Punk one.
Yeah, they have such cool them and who is it? Is it not? Well, Mondo makes cool figures too, but there's another company that NECA does cool. There's a lot of cool.
NECA does some cool ones. Yeah,
NECA does, and I wish I could have had money to like buy all those Ninja Turtle toys there, but oh my god, man, those Ninja Turtles, like they put out some of the coolest toys. Anyway, I'm such a bad host. We're not here to talk about toys.
No, we are.
We are. Well, I mean, we're here to talk. It's Matt's hour. We're here to talk about whatever we want, but we got to get something out of the way, though, Matt.
Yeah,
you're in Batman: The Brave and the Bold issue 10. You've got a 12-page story with a rock star creative team that worked on a little book from a little guy named Joshua Williamson called Nail Biters. I mean, remember that. But you got 12 pages. You got to go to Gotham. You got to bring someone new into Gotham. Also plant a very intriguing, wondrous seed that could blossom into something big if anyone ever let you get your tendrils further into the DC mythos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, how's it feel? What is like, are you still, because you knew about it for a long time before you could talk about it, but now that you get to talk about it, like, is it so like experiencing it all over again?
I wrote it oh geez, when I first got asked to do it, it was a year ago. So like I've been sitting with it for a while. I think I finished writing it in April last year, and but I'll tell you this: when I was first asked to do it, I legitimately I cried, like I was crying, right? Like I mean, I'm not too proud to say that I was in tears. Like I held him back, and then when I got into my car, I was just crying. And I was driving home, and I was like super careful because I was like, "This is when I'm going to get hit. Like I'm going to get into a horrible car accident. It's going to happen right now." But I made it home safe. I was ecstatic. I didn't talk to too many people about it,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, dude, it's you read comics your whole life, you get into comics. I mean, I've been working in comics so long that I thought it would never happen to me, and I actually came to terms with that. Like I was like, I'm always gonna make indie comics. Indie comics are great. I don't need to play in the big two. Okay. Even though I grew up reading big two comics and I grew up watching cartoons and movies and stuff like that, it just isn't gonna happen. And then it happened, and yeah, I mean it's unbelievable that I was given the chance to do it, and it's because of my friend Ben Abernathy, who was the executive editor of Batman over there. And I have known him for a long time, and he had the opportunity to ask some people to do some stories, and I happened to be talking to him right at that time, and I was able to do one. And I had been working on a lot of short stories going up into it, so I kind of had stopped self-publishing my own comics and had been focusing on writing short little stories for things, because I wanted to focus more on writing.
Okay.
Because I have a day job, and drawing comics takes a lot of time, and a lot of writing goes on.
At it, though, man, you're so good.
Oh, I'm gonna keep drawing. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But and thank you, thank you for saying that. But a lot of writing I think takes place in your head, right?
Okay.
So at least for me, so while I'm working, I'm thinking about it. While I'm making dinner, I'm thinking about it. A lot of drawing pages and stuff, you have to be there. Drawing, you know what I mean? Your nose to the grindstone kind of thing. And you can't really do it while you're doing other things,
Okay.
And so it's kind of and I love writing, but it was kind of almost like a necessity thing, I didn't want to stop making comics. I had a day job. I had a lot of stuff going on. And so I started, just kind of dropping into writing more, and I did a couple things like Fairy Tales from Mars I did. And, just a couple things like the Lower Your Sights anthology. I did one for that. And I was so proud of that one specifically that I was like, maybe I should start doing this more, So I started writing a bit more. And I had a good amount of stories that I showed Ben, and he was like, yeah, these are pretty good, and you're showing this to me at, the right time. And so he asked me to do it, and we kind of went from there. And
Now, when you say stories, were these the indie anthology stuff you were working on, or like were you just like did you happen to like almost like fan DC ideas that had been sitting around, or like, because I know you're not supposed to pitch those unless you get like specifically asked or whatever, right? There's like that weird rule, or
yeah, you don't want to be going up to them and being like, hey, I got this story idea.
Yeah.
I did pitch something to him before.
Okay.
But it was for a series, and it was a Kyle Rayner story, because Kyle Rayner is my favorite character.
Okay.
And I have a hell of a pitch for Kyle Rayner that maybe one day will get made, who knows. But like, if that character, if that ever happens, I'll be the happiest person in the world. But it's a really good one. I'll tell you that. Kind of Guardians of the Galaxy-ish almost.
Nice.
And we could talk about Kyle Rayner, for the next 3 hours if you want to, but my whole premise is that he basically gets fired because Kyle, he really worked when there wasn't a Green Lantern Corps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he worked really well as just like a superhero, not as like a cop, right? Because he's not a cop, right? Like, he's an artist, he's a comic book artist, He's not a police officer. And so I feel like once the Corps got reestablished, it was hard to find something to do with him, because he just doesn't fit into that. But anyway, I digress, right? I need
to learn more about him, Matt, because like I'm most familiar with him. I liked the New 52, most of it. It got me like back into shops and stuff, and I was getting, and then like the Snyder Capullo Batman run that still blows everyone's mind, because now the omnibuses are out and even more people can read it anyway.
Oh yeah, so good.
but like I really liked, I'd gotten into Jeff Johns' Green Lantern saga, which continued into New 52, right? And then there were like 4 other Lantern books going on at that time, and then they had a few big crossovers with each other. But part of that was Kyle and being like the White Lantern and some of the shit in New 52, and so that's like, and then he got with he got like Hal's girlfriend. I can't think of her name right. Like, they got together.
Girl,
that was kind. And she was a Lantern too. And like, I don't know, some weird shit going on in the New 52 Lantern stuff. But it was fun. But that was more what I'm familiar with. And then, when younger me was like, Lantern Parallax stuff was where I kind of remember, and like that the Ron Mars and Daryl Banks stuff, right? And that I've been kind of slowly going back and reading that on the DC app when I can.
See, that's what got me into Green Lantern. Like, I had never read Green Lantern until that.
So
yeah,
it reads like new DC still. I think it doesn't read like 80s comics. No. It's very modern, and like Ron Mars is really good. Daryl Banks' art's insane. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. And Kyle, that's why he has like a place in my heart as like my favorite heroes, because that's kind of when I got into comics as a kid.
Okay.
And Hal, I didn't know anything about at all until like he went crazy and was killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then Kyle was just a comic book artist in LA who was at a bar, and he went into the alleyway there, and Ganthet just like falls in with the ring and says, "Oh, you'll do," And so he kind of had to do it, And so his story kind of, then he becomes kind of like one of the core, and he just doesn't really fit into that nicely into that box.
He's very different. I mean, a lot of the Lanterns are very different, like especially like the different species and stuff, but he is, of like the humans, he is like he's always been different, he's like even Hal with like the the willpower and I mean, even like his love for some of the characters and stuff, he still doesn't have that kind of soft side that Kyle does, right? And then of course, like John is like he's like the architect, right? So he's very like meticulous and calculate, like he's like a human calculator almost, and he's not emotionless or robotic, but he's very efficient and and can sometimes appear cold because of that razor sharp efficiency. And then Guy is just is ridiculous. He's a fucking NFL drunk linebacker, like set loose with a fucking lantern ring in the cosmos. I see. He's the artist, the dreamer, the lover, like he's got like the kinder, softer side. He doesn't fit into the
And for my
narrative.
pitch, that was kind of like the idea is like he doesn't get fired, but like that starts to become a liability, right? Like Guy
Oh,
Gardner, who's his partner, is like, I'm starting to get kind of pissed off that he's always kind of got the soft side, and like he's not really doing his job and all this stuff. Like, I mean, he's great, but like he just doesn't really fit,
mm.
And so they tell him like, hey, like you did your job, like you got the lanterns back together and stuff, but why don't you go live your life? Go be an artist, go do what you were meant to do. And so he goes to go do that, but shenanigans happen. He ends up kind of joining with a bunch of other like lantern, not rejects, but like lanterns that have run away from the Red Corps and stuff. There's like a group of them. It becomes like a found family kind of thing, and they're out
Oh,
doing
wow.
wild. So yeah, so that was kind of my idea. But
Like a hippie artist galactic commune. Like what?
yeah, kind of, yeah. Like I
I'm
was gonna
intrigued,
put,
Matt. This is cool. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. It's there was like there's different, there was like I was gonna put LaFreeze in there and stuff like that. Like just people have kind of like given up on being part of their core,
Nice.
their, you know what I mean? Like so, yeah, like anyway, so now that's out in the world for everybody to hear. So yeah,
Cool. I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not a DC editor, so you're safe. You're safe.
I mean, I don't think it'll ever get made, but like I love that pitch.
I thought you were about to be like, I don't think you
it.
ever will be, so we're good. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks, man. So, congratulations.
Well, I mean,
on
even
your
if you were a
success.
DC editor, like them putting a bunch of money into like a Kyle Rayner,
Yeah.
kind of offshoot thing where he's not even really a lantern. Like, I don't know if they're gonna do that, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's a long shot.
But unfortunately, and I understand that, and that's the unfortunate side of like the commercialized big two or bigger comic book industry stuff is it's like will it sell, how much will it sell, who's going to buy this and who's it for. Those are way bigger influencing factors as opposed to like when you're like, no, I have a dream and a crazy fucking idea and I'll get on Kickstarter if you don't believe in me, like I'll take. Now you couldn't take a Kyle Rayner book on Kickstarter, you'd have to make new characters but you know what I'm saying, like that's the unfortunate part. But regardless, like hey, you're way closer to getting that Green Lantern book made now than you were a few years ago, right? So true, I mean, like you can't say it's an impossibility now because you are in the pages of a DC comic. So you know,
I mean, if it goes over well and I get more work and stuff, that'd be great. Like that, I mean, like so kind of with this, we'll go back to the story that's actually coming out. I put everything I had into it, right? Like I was like, they opened the door for me. I'm going all out. What's your policy on the show about swearing? Is there swearing on here?
You say whatever the fuck
right?
you want.
Okay,
baby. Yeah. I'll go to town.
I fucking went for it. Like I mean, like when you read that story, there's like 10,000 Easter eggs. I put friends of mine in it. Nice. I did a lot, right? Like I basically said if they open the door for me and I get a chance to tell this one story, I want to make it the best story I possibly can. And so, and I know that that's probably what every single person working on a DC comic or Marvel comic has felt.
I hope that's what they say. They better, if you get that opportunity, you better not be like, slept past my deadline, I'll just give them this, see what happens.
I'm just gonna do it in like 10 minutes or whatever.
I wrote this script on a Google Doc on my phone while I was taking a shit. Hope they like it.
Well, so one of the cool things about working on this is that my experience with DC was that they were amazing. Like it was awesome. The best freelance experience I've ever had. I got paid before I was even done writing it. It was insane. I didn't have to track nobody down. Like I was expecting, like, okay, I turned it in, then I had to bother them in like a month, which is what everybody does, right? Mm-hmm. Every company, it's like at least a 30-day like wait, to get paid. But they were just like, bing, it's in your account. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I haven't even finished writing the story yet. How do you know I'm not going to, run away from this? I mean, I guess they know people aren't going to do that, but they paid me, way ahead of time. My editor, who was this guy Alex Gaylor, who's also a really good writer. Like he has a story in the new How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days. He did the John Constantine story, nice. And he did one for the Mr. Robot one for DC's anthology that came out during Halloween, and they're amazing stories. He's a great writer, and I was really lucky to have him as an editor. But he treated me like I was like Grant Morrison or something. Like the emails happened immediately. Like he threw amazing ideas at me, and we actually like became good friends. Like I will probably be friends for a long while. And
Awesome.
yeah, and we bounced ideas off of each other. We were on the same page the entire time, and we had a lot of fun just like getting onto phone calls and like talking about things we could put in there, and stuff. And there's a lot of Easter eggs, which
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because the character kind of uses a lot of like old like B-list villain weaponry.
You
and stuff,
dug deep into some Gotham rogues, dude.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was so. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to like say too much. But yeah, when the Nameless starts going through, that's Matt's new villain's name is the Nameless. And a very very cool cryptic guy. Who like a good villain has a damn near respectable means to his end, right? Like it's you don't want to say things like it's justified because then people will be like, Blake's a terrible person. He's gonna be a guy. He's gonna, like Blake's a villain. Like but like
Right.
it makes sense. It's like I get where the anger stems from. I get that sense of like exclusion and not mattering, and like of being like poor and broken and forgotten about. Like people can attach to that. And
Yeah.
anyway, you're like, okay, like anyway, so this Nameless villain is very intriguing, and then basically like once he starts using his like it's like, where does he get all those wonderful toys from the DC vault like that Matt like dug into? So cool. Like yeah, you can really tell in 12 pages like how much love, appreciation, and knowledge you have of this world you got to play in. Like I thought that was just really smart writing, both to your new audience, right? Your old audience, I hope, is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to check out Matt's DC stuff. But like, you're a new writer with a new DC story, ideally, hopefully, most likely, a lot of new eyes are going to see your work pretty soon, right?
I
And
hope
be
so,
like,
yeah.
oh, I haven't read this guy before. I like, so you're coming to your new audience both with like, I can tell a story, I can tell a short comic that matters, that makes sense, that wraps up, that it works as a completely self-contained short that could also be something else. And I respect and know this world, right? You've said a lot of stuff to new readers, to your editors, to your DC co-creators, and everybody working on this book. Like, you well researched, well thought out, just on top of a cool story. And you didn't necessarily like have to do that. Like that's why I said like it's smart writing, because you did that in a way that like really flexes your skills and your know-how and your knowledge, and doesn't bog down the plot. Everything makes sense. Everything moves, and it's a really wonderful 12 pages, dude. Like a really good 12 pages. I want you to do more in DC.
If I were able to do more with that character too, like I would. One of the things that Alex and I had been talking about originally is we're interested to see what the ripple effect is, right? So like this character gets introduced. I won't give away the ending, but as you know, the ending leads to it leaves it open for that character to kind of make an effect.
Mm-hmm.
And we are interested to see if there's one of the things we talked about a lot is if there will be a ripple,
Yeah.
if other writers and stuff see it and want to kind of work with it. And I think that'd be awesome.
Is that why you brought Duke? Is that why you used Duke? Because Duke kind of came from a ripple effect in previous stories, right?
So I'll tell you what happened. So when I was originally given a prompt of what this story was going to be, it was going to be tied into an event. And so I was kind of given a prompt, right? And then it ended up not being tied into this event. So, but then I continued with the story, and I was kind of given like some characters to use, and I threw out this name and that name and this name. And Ben said, "Hey, why don't you do something with Duke?" And I was like, "Okay." I knew a little bit about Duke.
Okay.
Because I read the Snyder stuff, and I read the We Are Robin, and so I like Duke. He's cool. But he hasn't gotten much play. Like no, he kind of is in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, why don't you do something with Duke? And so when I started looking into him to kind of learn more about Duke, I found out some pretty interesting stuff. And he actually has become like one of my favorite characters in the
Oh,
Batman
cool.
universe. Because he's okay, so for one, he's ridiculously overpowered, right? Like Duke can do stuff. He's like Omega level, you know what I'm saying? Like he's like like there's one story specifically where I think it's like an Elseworld version of him as part of the Metals timeline, where he basically becomes like god of all realities, and he can slip in between all the different realities. Yeah,
I did not know that.
Duke is nuts, man. He can absorb all the light, so like he absorbs all the light.
Yeah.
There's a really cool thing actually in the new issue of Batman, because Chip uses Duke. Chip talks about Duke in the new Batman. He'll bring up the fact that he's got powers and what kind of powers he has. And so in the newest issue, it comes into play, and it's used in a really cool way. But anyway, so yeah, that's go buy that Batman, the new Batman that just came out.
I need to read that. I actually just got I just re-upped my DC Ultra subscription. I just paid that hundo. But honestly, even with some of the glitches in the app, I love that service. And like,
yeah, dude, it's worth it.
A month after the shit hits the shelves, we get to read it. And then the trade formats that are available to Ultra subscribers too, that just kind of make things easier to download and consume. Very, very cool. And I just got my second, gift. I just got the deluxe Batman Who Laughs with the fancy, the custom variant. So I've gotten that, and the Death of Superman collection they sent us last year. So I've gotten the 2 free books. Anyway. So yeah, I need to read Chip's run. Like like we talked about earlier, I'm behind. I just now, because of the show, spoiler, I'm reading Rom's detective run right now, right? And like,
so good, dude.
Oh my god. It's like there's some parts that are like These Savage Shores, but fucking Gotham. And I'm just like, yeah, of course
he brings the wrong beat to it, dude. He brings it to it.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
There isn't a writer out there. I mean, maybe Cy with like the Flash that's going on right now, and like he brings an intelligence to his scripts. But like I mean, everybody is really good with it. But like I feel like I'm learning stuff. Like with Snyder, I feel the same way. Like there's stuff in there that he'll put in there that I'm just like, oh man, I'm like learning science. Like I feel like I'm getting smarter. You know what I mean? Like, is he sneaking science in here? Like, did I just learn how to like how genomes work or whatever? Just like it's crazy. Like, but Ram does the same thing, dude. And it's I love that. DC, dude, I feel like they don't get the and I'm not saying this just as somebody who like just wrote a DC thing, but I don't think that they get the credit that they honestly deserve. I mean, the stuff that they come out with is just fantastic. You know what I mean? Like a lot of their books are so good.
I love it. And I'm not just saying it because I have a DC creator on the show. I've had a handful of DC creators on the show. And I've always loved DC. I grew up loving both. Like many, I knew Batman and Spider-Man and Wolverine like well before like Spawn and anything about indie comics, right? So like that's what I grew up with. But yeah, DC has really impressed me lately. And also like it's very cool with Rom doing detective, but then like Waters and Spurrier and like all these guys doing the B, all the White Noise guys are fucking doing the B stories in tech. And it's like, what is happening? Because they're bringing that vault weirdness into the Gotham world, and they're doing, like you would think like with Snyder and Court of Owls, like no one would ever be like, I'm going to do a secret society Gotham story, like, because that's going to be real hard to follow. Right. But he's kind of doing that. And he's like bringing like this old Gotham history to the forefront, and these new characters and villains and all this crazy shit, and it's really cool to see happen. And then Cy Spurrier and Dan Waters writing like Two-Face and Montoya and Gordon, and like seeing like I said, seeing some of these like real intelligent and cryptic indie writers you take over shit in Gotham, right? And
Yeah.
I very much, and man, I'm gonna lift you up right here, baby. I very much felt the same reading you take Duke for a spin, and that is
Well, thank you.
crazy to me. I don't know a ton about Duke. I loved Robin Wars, and when he came out, right, like he was cool and he looks cool, and I like his clothes and his outfit and his presence and his attitude. But it's not like I've read like every Duke comic. But
yeah,
you felt like you really got him and knew him, and to find out that someone was like, hey, why don't you try Duke? And you read up on Duke and we're like, oh, okay. And
yeah, dude, I went Duke crazy, man.
Yeah, but he fits in with the name, like, and
yeah,
dude, there's a scene which you'll have to buy the book if you want to know the scene. But there's a scene where you don't get a lot of that in Gotham, where both sides have a moment.
Yeah,
and that was cool.
And I don't know if, like, it might have, like, been
Jared.
Oh, did he say so? Oh, I've not even seen what people are saying.
I know I'm missing tons of chat. We got. I said Jared says spoil it. By the way, Michael Adams in the house saying, going back saying Kyle Rayner's awesome. K-pop's in the house. What's up, K-pop? Thanks for Mr. Doug Wood, who has returned to the internet.
I know. I'm so happy to see Doug
hanging
back.
out. He's got a question for you. Did you read Duke and Batman Wayne Family Adventures on web? Oh, side note, I keep forgetting to read that. I hear it's phenomenal, and they're doing more of it, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Episodes.
Yeah, and so I did. I basically read every single Duke thing I possibly could find. So I did.
Nice.
Like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up on Duke. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a character I feel like you could really mess up on. Because there's not a lot out there on him, and the stuff that is out there is crazy. He turns invisible. He can walk through shadows. He can, like, I mean, he is like an all-powerful character, but then, like, who is he as a person, right? And this is kind of, diving into, without like spoiling the story or whatever, but Ben as a executive editor, he's a genius, right? He's a genius. And I don't know if he meant to be like, hey, put Duke in this or not. I mean, it was before I had really even written much. But it just fits so well. Like, I think he was just accidentally genius with it, right?
Wow.
Like, because Duke is kind of like he is like the background character in his in the Batman family. Like, he doesn't get a lot of love, And I found that by researching him. He does not get a lot of like screen time or a lot of like character stuff, And he's been there, in Gotham lore. He's been there since year one, like when the Riddler was doing his stuff. And as a child, he was trying to beat the Riddler, right? Like, he's trying to figure out the riddles. And, I think it was like the Riddler, like, had a riddle somebody had to solve. And if they did, he would, give up on trying to kill Gotham or whatever. Like, so everybody's trying to figure this out. And Duke was there trying to figure it out. And he had, like, taken Bruce in when he was hurt. I think, if I remember correctly, that's what it was. That was his first appearance. And then he kind of comes back and he does some stuff. And Snyder has a lot of fun with him, especially in DC Metal. But, like, he has stuff with his parents got Joker-fied, and they kind of like ran around and, and he's just somebody who who can echo that villain's Nameless's whole shtick,
Okay.
Like, their pathways are like, you can go this way or you can go that way. Duke went that way, Nameless goes this way, And they just became a perfect, like, matchup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of just all worked together. And, and I became a huge Duke fan, and, like, I bought all the toys, like, I got the Duke figure and the little guy there, and I have the, he, in the DC Metal one where he becomes like the god, he's got like this crazy, like metal, Batman suit that's like this cape and an axe that has all the Green Lantern rings in it and stuff. And, like, I have that somewhere too.
Whoa.
Yeah, he becomes great. I want to do a story with that, dude. It's so cool. Like, he basically, like, can go between all the different realities, and he, like, I don't know what he's doing after that story. I think he never came back, but he's just kind of fixing things,
What would you say of your extensive research? What would you say is, like, if you want to get to know Duke, the first thing, like, stop right now, fire up the DC app or get on Hoopla or get on whatever, or go to whatever bookstore, go to the comic shop, where would you say to start with Duke? Other than Batman Brave and the Bold 10, which is out February 27th.
Yeah, that one. That's what you want. I would say that We Are Robin
nice,
series was really good.
Tom King worked on that too a little bit, didn't he?
I think it was just Lee.
Okay.
I could look that up, but I think I mean it was like a short series. I think it was 12 issues, but that one was really good because that was him kind of like joining up with a group of Robins, and it was like at the time that I think what happened at that time was Robin died or something, or Batman was gone, or Robin was gone, or one of the two. I think it was maybe Batman is when Batman was gone. So like a bunch of kind of like street kids, like started the Robin group, and there was a bunch of them running around. They found him, and he kind of became like the leader,
And then they start snatching these kids, and then Duke is like, all that weight is on like Duke's shoulder, and the Bat family is like, I think it's been a long time since I read it. They like show up eventually, and I know Damien's in it a little bit too, but I mean like Duke pretty much gets left to like fix an impossible situation on his own, and then and like loses some kids and shit. It's a dark story, and like you really do see like Duke's a lot younger then, and he's like, he's very green, right? And he's just he wears yellow, but he's very green in this moment. And it's a cool book. I love that whole, so like Peter, like the Tomasi Gleason Batman and Robin is like one of my favorite things. And so like how that the Batman and Robin and how Damian, how that like mixed in with Morrison's, like the end of Morrison's Bat saga with Batman Incorporated and Damian dying, right? And then Damian coming back through the Lazarus pit, and Damian has powers for a little bit, right? And then all this shit happens, and like that's one of my favorite runs in comic book moment. Like it's so awesome, and stemming from all of that is the Robin War and the We Are Robin stuff. Like that all came from that, and then and a lot of Joshua Williamson's early DC stuff came from working on the Damian Wayne solo book too. So a lot of cool stuff.
And that was a New York Times bestseller. So something interesting about that is that when I was in college, I was taking an inking class. There's an inking class, it was Mick Gray, who was the guy who inked Gleason in that series, right?
Whoa!
And I was only in it for one semester. It was a 1 semester class, but in that 1 semester, I got to he'd always bring pages in, and he'd show us the new pages, and we got to practice inking on some of like the covers and stuff like that. And but it was during the time where it was like, this is New York Times bestseller, like it's amazing. And then Morrison comes back and wants to kill the character. So like then he's like, oh, like I got to see this like roller coaster of emotions that this poor inker was on, where he's like, oh, now they're killing Robin, and he's like, but that, like that, this is our baby, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because they were doing amazing character work on that relationship,
Oh my God, dude.
And so so I got to watch all that happen and see kind of like a member of the team's like emotional reaction. It was pretty interesting. Yeah.
I just remember, so like I got into Grant Morrison. That was like when I first started collecting shit, when I was like, oh, I have an eBay problem, right? Like I was like, I was just ordering too much stuff. But it was one of the first like big runs when I found out all this stuff that Grant was doing from reading Batman Incorporated, right? That's how I started. And then I was like, whoa. And then I was like, wait, this is kind of confusing. And then I was like, oh, because this story started like 5 years ago or whatever, right? And then I went back and like read all this stuff, and then like with Raj and with Talia and then Damian and this, and like all this, went through like this huge crazy saga, and then like bought like all the hardcovers I could, and like that's when I started getting into hardcovers, because I was like, I don't want the trade, I want the hardcovers, and some of them were out of print, and I learned that like, oh, sometimes when you want the fancy hardcover, you got to pay a little extra money if you don't buy it, if you find it late in life or whatever, right? But anyway, I bought them all, and it blew me away. I still remember going to the comic book shop on Wednesday and reading Batman Incorporated in the shop, and then like I knew, because the newspaper spoiled it. They had a big article saying DC was killing Batman's son, right? So like we all knew he was going to die, but we didn't really know how.
They killed the hell out of him too.
Oh my god, dude!
He's like a 13-year-old boy, man, getting
impaled on a fucking Sephiroth sword.
Yeah,
Like,
you
what
don't
the
see
fuck?
that anymore. Yeah. So I only
They
own.
killed the shit out of that
Oh yeah,
13-year-old boy.
the shit. He was a 13-year-old dude. He got skewered, man. Like he was held up, like just splayed
Oh my
out.
god, I
Like,
didn't even think of that. Oh my god, that's why it was so traumatizing.
it
Like
was like
trying not to
He was
cry
like
in the
Home
comic
Alone age,
shop. Like,
dude. Like,
oh.
yeah. That was like a dark version of like Home Alone, you know, like Macaulay Culkin. Did you get?
If it went the totally opposite way, like how it would happen in real life.
Yeah,
if some
yeah.
fucking grade school kid tried to stop two seasoned burglars.
Yep. And that was in a DC comic. It was right there for you.
Yeah.
So I only own one piece of original art from a comic, right?
Okay.
And it's a page, and it's I bought it for my teacher, and if you remember, there's an issue where Nightwing and Batman are like in this VR thing, and they keep running through these scenarios to like, oh, is there a way we could have saved Robin, right?
Yeah.
And they keep trying to save him. It never works, right? And so then they take the VR thing off and they leave the cave and they're like hugging each other and crying, being like, there's nothing we could have done,
Mm-hmm.
And then Alfred's standing there and he's looking at the VR machine. That's the page I have where he's like standing there and just kind of like looking at it. And he puts it on and he saves Damien in like 10 minutes because all he had to do was stop him from leaving the cave.
Yeah.
And he would have saved his life.
I remember.
And
you have that fucking page?
Yeah, I have that page where he's like standing there looking at it. Yeah.
Dude, that's like some crucial Bat moments for me, dude. That whole the silent issue of Batman and Robin, like when like Bruce is crying in the cave and like there's like no dialogue and the Robin's animals are like all and like fucking bat cows, like who would ever thought we would all care about bat cows? All these little silly granules of ridiculousn's that Grant Morrison knowingly sprinkled, along our nerd paths to greatness, and that they knew would break our fucking hearts even harder later, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I got to talk to Gleason last year at Planet Comic-Con, and
he's a nice guy.
He's so cool, yeah. And he was like, he told me when I first asked for an interview, he was like, man, and I was like, I'm pressed though, and I was like 10 minutes, man. He's like, yeah, if it slows down, and then like we ended up doing an interview and we talked about Damien. I his kids were there, and I was like, did this shit get so heavy when because like like you as a father, like writing about or drawing a father losing his son and like the weight of that, and he was like, yeah, dude, it was heavy, but he was like, I'm proud of what we did, and then at the end of the interview, like I was like, dude, thanks so much, and he was like, dude, I don't like doing interviews. That was very pleasant, thank you. And I was like, yes. I was like,
dude, Blake, you're a good interviewer, dude. Like you bring a let me do a shout out to you really quick. Is you bring a cadence to it? Is that the right word? A cadence of like cadence. That's the word. Of like hanging out with a friend, like I feel like when we talk,
we're not friends. What are you trying to say here, man?
Well, I'm just talking like it's not an interview. It doesn't feel like
well, thank you. That
in a good way,
good.
Right? Like we're just talking about comics and stuff, and like throwing stories at each other and stuff, and it's very like it's like fun, I'm not nervous. I'm not, having to answer crazy questions. You're very natural at bringing the questions up so that they don't feel, like I'm being put on the spot. It's very good. Well,
thank you. It's funny that because Matt is big, fancy DC famous now. Like we had to have a DC PR guy, like just kind of okay the situation, right? And the guy's very awesome. Like got me everything I needed. It was super cool. And he was like, so what questions do you have for Matt? And I was like, Matt's been on my show before. I was like, I don't really have questions. I kind of go like on vibes. And I was like, I'm going to read, we're going to discuss the book and I'm going to ask about like inspiration and storytelling stuff. And I told him, I was like, I'm very interested. I want to know, like, because the last time I talked to him, it was when like, when All the Devils Are Here get like the Scout announcement was around that time. Cause you and David Hazan popped in on the Jared Lujan special or the launch party for Southbound. That's when we all talked last. Anyways. So I was just like, I just kind of go, and I was like, but like I was like, I'm gonna ask like how he got to DC and talk about the book, but I was like, it was funny. I was like, I don't ask questions.
I've never felt like such a big shot in my life than having to do that. Like, be like, oh, let me hook you up with the press guy. Like, I'm like, oh man, like, should I buy a suit now? Like, should I?
And then Matt even told me, Matt was like, dude, it's the DCPR guy, shoot your shot. And I was like, I shot it. I was like, here's my media kit. I was like, my parents used to have this hanging on the refrigerator when I was a kid. And like, I would really like to get on DC's press list. So, like,
and you are now, right? Are you
I believe, yeah. I think so. Maybe it depends on how good this goes. I was gonna follow up and like send a link, be like, hey, here's the.
Oh, dude, yeah, get on the press list, dude.
But yeah, I think your boy, Chat. I think your boy got on DC's press list, which is just absolutely insane. Also we got a bunch of people in the chat. Ian Mondrick's in the house. What's up, dude? Ian. All y'all guys, everybody needs to follow Ian. Ian does a lot of great indie comics chats. And stuff with a lot of Kickstarter creators and loves he's doing God's work basically. Ricardo says not gonna find any Gotham hotness if you don't try. Yeah, you gotta try. You gotta try. Matt's out here trying.
He took that inking class.
Oh nice. Yeah, and yeah. Doug says Doug just mentioned, he was like, that sounds awesome. It does. Like, dude, I took a screenwriting class and UMKC at the grad level, and it was taught by a guy who worked on one of the screenwriters for Batman the Animated Series, and I was really excited.
Wow.
And then we started the class, and he was like, if you're in here and you don't know anything about screenwriting, you need to get the fuck out of here. And I was like, that's like how the class started. And I'm like, okay, it's a mixed class, right? So I'm like, he's talking to the undergrads. He's not talking to like the MFA kids, right? I'm like,
it's like military, dude.
Yeah. I was like, he's not talking. I was like, it's fine. I was like, I'm about to start working on my thesis. He's not talking to me, dude. Like they start breaking down films and talking about act structure. And I'm not ignorant to act structure, but like, going from like prose to like visual, or like thinking of like comics and comic scripting. Cause I was like, I was like, ooh, this will segue into like the script I have to produce for this class, like segue into a script for a comic book. And it was very intense. And I ended up saying goodbye. But I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, this is not for me. A lot of the grad students dropped out because we all took it thinking it was going to be a cool class. And this dude was like, why are all these regular fucking prose writers, these kids writing short stories, like are gonna take this like big boy screenplay class? But yeah, anyways, it was
wow.
But it started off with that kind of hope, Matt, where I was like, oh, this dude like did Batman the Animated Series, like, oh my god, this would be crazy. So I did not get your inking experience. So I'm living vicariously through you. But yeah,
let me give a quick shout out to Ricardo, by the way.
Nice.
He's an awesome artist. So Ricardo, you should link cool. your Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, drop where do we follow you? The chat, Ricardo. I already like him because he's saying we all had eBay problems at one time or another. Matthew Cole's in the house. Matthew Cole writes Glopple, a really cool all ages book that we're doing some cool stuff with. Legends Kids Publishing. You guys should all Matt, if you do the same thing, if you want to drop anything in the chat, I'll share it, bud. Hey, vibes in Ricardo, I like you, man. Maybe I need to make sure I'm following you. I might.
Ricardo's cool, dude. He's one of the coolest.
Yeah, you should get a suit. You should get I remember the first time when I met Neil Adams a while back, and he had a suit. He didn't have a suit and tie, but he had a shirt, a button-up shirt and tie at the signing, and he like did a sketch for me at the signing because I couldn't go to this con, and I paid him a lot of money because he drew Superman and Wonder Woman on it. And it was so like, anyways, it was I got to sit there and watch him draw. And then when he got done with it, like all the people at the signing, like I was like walking around with it, holding it like the newborn Christ, Matt. And I was like, everybody was looking at it and they were like touching me instead of like touching the comic book cover. Right. And there was just like, I was like walking through this crowd of people like a savior, like holding this fucking glorious art. It was weird. It wasn't exactly like that, but that's how it felt. Anyway, that's what Neil Adams art gets you for like $500.
Well, you own one of the coolest art pieces ever done by a human being.
Oh, Tony's
the
turtle piece. Yeah. I'm lucky.
The Akira Ninja Turtle thing.
Yeah. That's another reason why I want to remake the studio, because I have a lot of cool art that I want to have mostly like art framed kind of like around, even though you won't be able to see it that well, but like I got a lot of when IDW was doing like IDW limited stuff, and you could buy art made by the creators, like with the fancy editions. Like I got some stuff from there, and then like I that was like the first original art I bought. I have a page from TMNT 55 from Mateus Santaluco, who's one of my favorite TMNT artists. Sorry, Tony Gregori, I love you too, but he's Santaluco's insane.
Super good.
But it has all the turtles on it except Donatello because he's dead and in Metalhead at the time. Spoiler, but this happened years ago, so sorry. But like
that was
it's got all three turtles. Donatello is Metalhead and Bebop and Rocksteady. One page, like is $350. It was amazing. It was well worth it. And then my parents paid to get it framed for my birthday, so it's in this really fancy black gorgeous frame that they spent way too much money on.
That is freaking cool.
Yeah, so I have that, some art, and then like some little sketches. So yeah, I've got and then like Tony's turtle. So I've got a lot of cool turtle art, and then I got some stuff that like people sent me from like people I've interviewed, and no pressure, Matt, but no, I'm just kidding.
I'm doing a Casey Jones for you. That's still happening.
I forgot. Yeah, we were talking about that. And,
totally.
I didn't know. I kept looking. I've been looking. I didn't know if you were doing like, I didn't know if you were doing like warm up videos. A while back, you did. And maybe this was when you were doing interiors with Jared, but you were posting warm up sketches a lot. But now that makes more sense because you were doing interiors with Jared and you were needing to warm up. So you were posting more warm up pics.
my goal, what I would be my my role in the industry would be to be a writer and cover artist. Kind of like Magnola style.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody's goal is, I think. So it's like there's a lot of competition for that role, but like
even Tom King gets to be a fucking writer and cover artist.
Artist, yeah, his
so
covers,
ridiculous.
Man. I have a couple of his covers; they're hilarious.
Nice. Dude. That's I've wanted them. I've seen them. It cracks me up. I
want to hear something that's going to
really want like a TK original.
You want to hear something that's going to piss you off? I have two older brothers, right? They're much older than me. They're like 10 years older than me because they're like half brothers, but they're my brothers. And the way that we all got into comics is that my dad would take us all to conventions and stuff, right? And he was kind of like, my dad loves comics, but he was always kind of like the guy who would like go and want to meet the artists, right? So we got into a lot of indie stuff, that's how I kind of got into indie stuff is I met a lot of indie artists and writers. And he brought my older brother when I think I don't even know how old I was. I must have maybe not even born yet, but he brought my older brother to a WonderCon convention. And my older brother got an original sketch from Eastman. And it was a Ninja Turtle sketch that was like that old one, like the old, like you have you ever seen like the first sketch of a Ninja Turtle? It looked like that. Right?
Yeah, the weird the when they were like
very turtle.
I don't know that they were sober when this happened, but they were like in their studio and fucking around, and Kevin drew like an actual like tortoise with like with nunchucks draped over. It's weird.
So it was that style, right? Like because awesome. I asked my older brother what it looked like, right? Now let me tell you, the reason I had to ask him what it looked like is because he is kind of a he has a lot of stuff and it gets all jumbled. I don't want to say that he's like a pack rat or anything like that, but his stuff gets all jumbled, and it's kind of a mess. And he lost it. He has no idea where it is. He had an original Ninja Turtle sketch from Eastman before it blew up, before any of that happened, and he lost it because
my god.
Yeah, he was just a guy working on an indie comic, at a convention, and he got a sketch.
Wow.
Gone.
That's crazy.
Nuts, right?
I mean, man, you never know. You really never know.
History book, dude.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I was talking to my dad today because my dad's always like, every day it's just like one of the questions. You got a show tonight? And I'm just so I was talking to my dad, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm talking to this guy, and I was like, he's been on the show before, and I was like, he just got a DC, he's got a deal in a DC book, and he was like, oh, cool. And I was like, yeah, I was like, it's cool. Like like when I met him and talked to him, like they were doing like these indie books, and now he's coming on to promote like his DC book, and so if I would have been like I could have been I could have been, well, if I would have been a dick to you and Jared Lujan, I would have paid for that in numerous ways. I feel like it's, you know, it's like, of all the people to be dicks to, but you know what I'm saying? Like you never know, like the same instance, like I could have bumped into you at a con and I love your art and it'd been like, oh, like this artist got, you know, and then like, oh, he's writing DC books now. And then like, oh, he's writing a new Duke series and doing covers for it in 2 years from now or whatever ends up happening. Or, you know, you never know. But that's crazy. Yeah. So always be respectful, and always, if anybody ever gives you a drawing at a comic book convention, put it somewhere safe, because you definitely never know. Like,
dude, I mean, so, you know, like if I'm ever to give advice, sorry, before I talk about this, I like making connections. So I want Jared and Ricardo to become friends in the chat right now, because the two of them would work well together. Like they'd make some really cool shit. So Jared, message Ricardo.
Yeah, you guys.
Ricardo, you respond to that message. Jared's awesome. One of the best people in comics.
Awesome people.
The comics industry is way better off for having Jared in it. That's all I'll say. But well, shit, what the hell was I even going to say? Oh yeah, okay. This was for anybody who's making comics, like, just keep making them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been doing this for a long time, since I was like 20 years old. I think was the very first time I made the dumbest comic in the world, printed it out at Lulu. Before that, I just did, you know, Kinko's, you know, but like I went and I printed it out at Lulu, did a convention in San Francisco, and I've been doing it ever since. And there have been a lot of times where I've been like, there's no way I'll ever get recognized for doing this, right? There's no way that anybody will care about my work. There's no way that I'll ever work, you know, make you know, a Batman comic, you know. It's just never going to happen. But if you sit in the chair long enough, you're going to get a haircut. If you don't quit, you'll make it. You know, like you will eventually. It might be, you know, it might be 20 years from now. It might be 30 years from now. It might be 1 year from now, you know. But you will. I mean, just keep at it and love it, and you will be able to do, you know, amazing things, you know. And that's the one thing I can, if I have any wisdom to put on anybody, that's the advice. Just keep making comics.
Yeah. Michael Adams agrees. Michael Adams also a cool artist guy that everybody should follow. He's a really, really solid people. I told him his art reminded me of Scotty Young a little bit, and his wife was like, oh my God, you're about to be his new favorite person. Because I met him at a con, but he had all this like bright, vibrant, like just gorgeous art, and has a cool book. Zor is about to come out from Keen Spot. You guys should everybody should check that out. But yeah, like
I'm digging his vibe. Michael Adams has got a cool vibe there.
Yeah, he's a good, and he's just like a good, nice, fun dude who also like really pushed me after the con into like being like, dude, you should think about trying to be in this industry professionally somehow. And I was like, not many people had said that to me before, right? Like, and so, you know, he kind of got me thinking differently, and as everybody knows, like everything's very different now. So like, I owe him a debt of gratitude for that. But also, he was just met him at a con. He reached out on Twitter, and I met him, and then he sent me home with a awesome. I got a Michelangelo piece from him of Michelangelo eating a piece of pizza, and he wouldn't let me pay for it, and it's beautiful. And like, I just,
Blake, let me tell you this. You're great, dude. Like, you're great.
I guess
you're an amazing like person to be doing. Like, no, you are, dude. Like, no, I mean, you're very caring. You're very like loving, and you're very like friendly, and you have a great energy. You know, like, you were great at this. Like, it would be a shame, and because there's been a lot of discourse over the last week, you know, over people with, you know, shows and stuff, you know, and I don't ever want to see you quit, dude. Don't ever do it.
Thank you.
Because your voice disappearing from this would be a massive shame. It would be a massive shame. I appreciate. And I just want you to know that from me, you know.
Thank you. I really, I'm trying not to, I'm not going to, I've only cried on air like once.
Do you want me to make you cry? I could
no,
keep going.
I don't. You almost did with your fucking book. Cause I can't, again, when we're talking about a 12-page comic and trying not to spoil stuff,
right.
Even with Jared tempting us, like, do it, right? But
Okay,
no,
I'll tell you. I'll talk about it a little bit. I'll talk
there's a
about it a little
dog.
bit so that
There's
you
a
know what we could talk about.
all right.
So so what it's about is it basically is all from the viewpoint of this new villain, and he is a guy who has been a professional henchman for his life. So he's worked for Riddler, he's worked for Joker, he's worked, he's in the gig economy, Gotham's underground gig economy. That's what he's doing. And he's never, made it above that. And in the first page of the story, he's finding out that he's dying. He's dying from exposure to chemicals and from just a lifetime of this kind of stuff. And he doesn't have much longer to live. And he's someone who also, since he's been involved in his life, you can tell he kind of has like a reverence for it. Like he sees the fandom that the superheroes have and the villains have, and like these big grand personas like the Joker and the Riddler. And he's just this guy who's, well, that's number 22, like that's just, henchman number 22, he's just in the background. And he decides to take the spotlight for once by killing one of the heroes. And he goes about doing this by, so he's kind of, he's older, he's dropped kind of, in his ability to be a henchman. And he's working for a guy who's just like a collector, that guy who collects all this old, Gotham villain, memorabilia. So he's got like weapons and stuff that he's got access to weapons that are from, comics that came out decades ago.
Yeah.
And this was actually surprising that we were able to do this. But me and Alex, we like scoured. We scoured and scoured and scoured. And we have stuff like he's got a bat from a guy that his name was the Bat Boy. Yeah. Way back. It was this yellow bat that fires like a net out of it, And so he's got like a bat that he modifies all this stuff. So like one of the weapons he uses there's one that I'm super proud about that I'm not going to talk about. I'll just say that's the grenade, which Blake will know what that is.
Oh my God. Yes.
I'm surprised nobody has thought of
fucking book. It's so good.
Yeah. I'm surprised nobody has actually thought about doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, because it just works out so well.
I'm surprised Batman hasn't thought about doing it. Honestly, like I'm surprised he doesn't have some of that in his little belt. Anyway, yeah, get back to
it. It makes sense, right? So yeah, okay. So there was a guy named Bat Boy, and so he has this yellow bat, and and you can like hold it, and it'll fire out the end of it, a net usually, but he puts something else in there that works really well. But then he wraps around it. There's this guy who was in one or two issues of Batman way back in like the 90s. His name was Metalhead. He wore like a full black costume, but just like a thing for his eyes. And he has this stupid like whip that he like whips around, and it's got like barbed wire on it. And so like he has that thing. He cut the barbed wire off and he wrapped the bat in it, and is just relentlessly attacking this guy. Also, there's a dog. There's a dog in it, and the dog there's dog related stuff in this book. But
yeah.
And
Matt, Matt told me previously, he was like, I feel like you're gonna resonate with this. And then I see this and I'm like, I was like, oh no, I'm always scared when a dog shows up, right? Because there's some easy like emotional manipulation you can get when you put like a dog or cat or so. Like if anybody's seen the new Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which was phenomenal. They did something similar. That's all I'll say, because that's fairly new, but everybody should go.
I gotta go see that.
But
that's the Glover one, right?
Yeah, it's on it, dude. It's on Amazon Prime. And the other night, I watched all 8 fucking episodes, one after the other. Totally did not realize how much time I spent. I got done with it. It was 4:00 in the morning. I was like, "Fuck me! I got to be up early." I was like,
dude, I started watching Ted Lasso. Finally.
Oh no.
On Saturday night. And I just finished like yesterday.
I was about to say you're done 3 already.
Yeah, dude. That show.
Oh
dang, dude.
And then that and like The Bear is like as soon as like you finish whatever the most recent episode is, you could almost like start it again and like rewatch it. Like it's that kind of good. TV. By the way, Doug had to bounce, but he said great chat and we wanted to
I'm
say
so glad Doug is
congratulations.
back, dude. I'm so
Yeah.
glad Doug's
No,
back.
that was very. I was like, I was very like, all of a sudden, like people were like, they were like, I started seeing like tweets from Doug and people were retweeting him and stuff. And I was like, what? Because I get why he took a break, you know, like health, mental health and health and, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. You got to take care of it. But, you know, it's
he's back.
He's
Doug's
back.
baby.
He's
Buzz,
back.
buzz.
He's back. He's ready to make some comics and he's ready to help some indie creators check out, or he's ready to help you with Kickstarter stuff. And he's done several campaigns and he knows what's going on. And he's one of those real cool people like Charlie Stickney or Pat Shand, who will always give you an earful, you know, like, well, they will, and not like a bad earful, but they will listen to you and they'll talk to you about their experiences in indie self-publishing, Kickstarter, and what worked for them and what didn't. And
he'll eventually be running DC. You know, he'll be like, he'll get a job being like high level somewhere like that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I hope. Anyways, very very cool that he's back, and so yeah, if he's Doug is literally out there like screaming, "I'm here to help indie creators, you know, make comics," and you'd be silly not to take him up on that offer. That's all. If I was making a comic right now, I'd probably hit him up. And I work for a production studio, like so, like I don't. So, anyways, I would recommend looking him up. He's got a new. It's Doug A. Wood maybe, or Doug Wood, or look around. You'll find him.
Yeah, you'll find him.
But yeah, and Ricardo agrees. Like mental breaks are important. You got to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's especially like you creatives, right? Like so much can happen when you get bogged down and stressed and so like you know, sometimes you have to walk away from something to view it differently or to figure out whatever situation you were stuck on, you know. And then, you know, some people will be like, oh, power through it, you know, keep writing. And I agree with that sometimes, but like also like you know, like you can tell when shit's forced sometimes, or you can tell when something's like rushed or done, or, you know, like when you're like, a lot of us have read those books where it's like, this is a really cool moment. I don't know why we didn't linger here a little bit more, right? Most likely because of deadlines. Most likely because like someone had a cool idea, but we didn't have enough time to get it
writing
done.
3 books at once or 4
books
at
whatever.
Once.
So, you know, it's that. Anyways, yeah.
Like, you know, so at my level, like I have a day job, right? I work at Oni Press, and a lot of people will say like, oh, you know, like don't have a day job while doing this or whatever. But I especially, you know, with writing and stuff, I like having the day job. I mean, I think we do work that I'm proud of. I'm proud to be a part of that company. We're doing a lot of cool stuff right now. And, you know, like it gives you a security of like having a job where I get to hang out with creative people all the time. Who are working on designs and stuff, or, you know, I get to kind of see like what's popular, what's not popular. Like I get to love these indie books that we're working on. And
you're in the scene too. Like you know, it's not, so it's a day job, but it is.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a job. There are days where I'm like, oh man, I have so much work. You know, this is, you know, I mean, it's, I think even if you're working like your dream job, you're still like, oh, it's a job. You know what I mean? There's times where you're just like, like you could be writing, you know, Batman, you could be Rom V writing Batman and stuff. And I'm sure there's days he wakes up and he's just like, ugh.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have to.
I got to write Batman. And all of his friends are like, shut up, Rom. Like, I got to go work, you know, fast food, or, you know what I mean? Like, what are you complaining about, Rom? God dang it. You know, and he, you know what I mean? Like, it's totally true, dude. Job's a job. People just don't like, nobody likes being told what to do really with their time. Right. But what I was going to say is that I think it really, because I've done freelance for a long time, and there are periods of time where I haven't done freelance, and this is one of the time that, you know, I have a salary job, and there's like a weight that's lifted off, right? Like I don't got to worry about chasing people down for money.
Yeah.
You know, after this one job's done in 6 weeks, you know, what am I going to do? You know, like I have to continue working right off. I can't take sick days. I can't do this. You know, there's just, it helps the creative process, for me at least, to not have to worry about that stuff. not
Oh
have to
yeah, I
worry about
bet.
doing a whole bunch of taxes and figuring all that out. How much am I going to owe? It's like all that is off your shoulders, and you kind of just get to do what you get to do creative stuff. You get to do, it feels, more organic when there's not that, like, I got to get this thing done in order to
Mhm.
get it, but at the same time, like, if I was only writing and that's what I was doing, like Ramsey, I'm sure I would still do that, and I'd feel that pressure, but I'm sure there's ways of coping with it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, I the same way. Like there are a lot of days like I have a lot of fun. Well, I usually always have fun working, but like it does get stressful like sometimes. And then like I mean like just like tonight after the show I have to resend a print order for the third time.
Mm.
Because it just with their keep finding little problems and and it's just like and then sometimes you're just like fuck, like how can we not like and it's so it's like yeah, and it's still like we're making comics, we're sending comics to print, we're doing cool stuff, but yeah, then like real life like just aggravations settle in, and then like and it's still a job, you still have coworkers, you have to work with other people, you have to work with these printers and publishers, and like there's all these other people that sometimes you don't get along with as great as your
Right.
team, right? Or it's like, and so anyways, yeah, it's shit gets fucking stressful sometimes, but yeah, it is a different, like I handle stress differently now. Actually, sometimes I don't know if it's worse because like sometimes like I used to always be scared that I was gonna get fired.
Mm.
Right. I was like, this isn't gonna last. Like everybody's gonna be like, they're gonna find someone else, or like it was just, I was like, this can't be real. Like, I was just like very, very against myself and not like, just not acknowledging the moment or whatever. But I was scared for a while, like everybody was gonna fire me. And I've had clients that like didn't come back, and that's fine. But I also have clients that like refer me to people,
Mhm.
right? And like so anyways, like it's whatever. But so now I'm to a point where if someone, no one's ever fired me, no one's ever like mid campaign been like, I want my money back and we're done, right? But
Yeah.
there's been people that like were like, with the next campaign I didn't hear from them, right? And that's fine, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Again, and I wish everybody the best, but like I said, there's other people who have come back, sent me friends, and then like there was a point I'd tell a couple people no because I was too busy and I was worried about, I didn't want to like slip, I didn't want to like not deliver and make people
Yeah.
mad, right? Even though like I was I was very hungry, I was very thirsty, and I like money a lot. And I was like, so I wanted to be like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, oh, can
Yeah.
you do
It's
it
it's
though?
easy to like load yourself up with too much. You know what
Yeah,
I
and
mean?
I hear that people were like, I always, when I talk about this stuff, everybody that I talk, because it's you guys usually, and everybody's like, that's so cute, you're just starting freelance. I had those questions too forever ago. Like I heard Sarah Gailey, like I was when her and Liana Kangas were on, we were talking about like almost like we were talking about taxes in the green room or something.
Yeah.
And she kind of told me, gave me some helpful, like mentioned stuff too. But it was just like, uh, it's just funny, like, because yeah, I used to pay $15 for freetaxusa.com and file state and federal for $15 total,
Oh
did it
yeah.
myself for
Those
years.
days are over, my friend.
Yeah, none of that. Oh well.
Now it's become a science. Now you have to go take a class. Dude.
Yeah, right.
That's,
This hopefully I can just give my dad's tax guy $100 or whatever, and he a stack of paperwork, and he figures it out.
I am really good at writing things off. Like I will write anything I could possibly write off.
I
I'll write
heard
it
you
off.
like a lot of like pretty much like you can call comic book purchases research. I
Yeah.
could call my Spider-Man edition PS5 like
Dude.
research, or
Absolutely,
yeah, like
because it's you just say, "Oh, it's because I need this stuff for interviews. Like I need to read this stuff for my
yeah,
job."
yeah.
Like absolutely, dude. Um, I mean, so I've done like storyboard stuff for like commercials and stuff. Like I have a
Well, you
client
do
that
like animation and stuff too sometimes, right?
sometimes, yeah, yeah. And like I'll do like like for Fritos or whatever, and I'll like, oh, I'm writing off these bags of Fritos, because I need to know what they taste like in order to, you know what I mean? Like, so
Awesome.
stupid, dude.
That's
But
amazing.
like, I mean, I basically write off as much as I can to the limit. I mean, and I'm not breaking the law. Like that's the law. You could write this stuff off, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work though. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Figuring all that out. That's why I was saying you should get a good accountant,
That's what Ricardo just said. The same thing. Tax guys are
Yeah,
the
just
best
saw you.
investment ever.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is actually something smart though for people like me who like when your life changes kind of quickly and you stumble into like a new career when you're almost 40 and then like you're getting all your money comes through PayPal, and you're like thinking, you're like, so eventually someone's going to ask where this is all coming from, like, and it doesn't get taxed, right? So like, even like some people do like the PayPal fee and some don't, but like that PayPal fee ain't really covering shit for anybody. So, it's whatever, but no, it's the things that like I think a lot of us need to hear, like like I think like before, like for Kickstarter people, a lot of people were like, don't skimp on a fucking letterer, right? Great advice for freelancers and indie creators who are freelancing, or like don't skimp on a fucking tax guy. Like I think these are smart conversations we need to have. Also, I miss Jason Copeland's in the house,
Hey.
agreeing with you. I think that was when you guys were all being nice to me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Also Dr. Atomic's Nerd Factory, happy to have you here. Everybody also is agreeing, Matt, they all think you're a fucking genius. This sit in the chair long enough you're gonna get a haircut, because I've never heard that either. That was a new one for me. I like that.
I mean, it is true though.
Stay in the chair.
Yeah.
Don't get up. Don't go anywhere. It's hot. It's cold outside. It's cold now. It's not hot.
I think a lot of the success that happens, especially in like the indie realm, is just not quitting. I mean, it's just not quitting. Like, if you stay around long enough, you're going to get, not only you're going to get better at it, but people, you're going to start becoming part of that world, Like, you don't just come in, try, fail, and then leave. You know what I mean? You just keep doing it. And for me, it's always been a thing where like I just really like making comics, and I know that everybody is like that in this. That's one of the reasons I like this industry so much, is as many people are like that. And if you just keep making comics, you'll eventually get to whatever goal you're trying to get to.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard. That unfortunately, like it's hard for everybody to like stay there, because it is like, I know for like some people it's like an investment. Like Steven Prince, like with Monster Matador, like we just set a record for backers with the new campaign, and but even then it's like what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of these Kickstarter campaigns, oftentimes, like Matt mentioned earlier, you don't often make money. Sometimes you're still spending money after the fact, even with like when the Kickstarter check rolls in. So like a lot of times, like for a campaign to generate funds, like you would almost have to like double the funding of what you'd like double the funding without doubling the backers.
Yeah.
To really like get to really kind of cut a profit. And there's, I mean, there's some people have figured out ways to do it. Like, so there's always exceptions to a rule, but most of the time, like, when you look at these campaigns, it's like, even when they look like they're doing well, like you're budget wise for getting everything printed and shipped out and using quality materials so that like the colors and pages look good and shit. Like it all is so expensive, and it adds everything adds up.
It adds
always,
up, right?
Like,
so to speak to what you're talking about, right, is like, for me, like I was saying earlier, like I want to be, a writer and cover artist, because that's something I could do, while still working behind the scenes and all that stuff. And there was a TED Talk. Do you know who Xander Cannon is? He did Kaiju Max.
Oh yeah, okay.
His biggest, yeah. So he did a TED Talk called "How to Be an Unprofessional Artist," and it actually inspired me a lot, because a lot of the problem with making comics is the time it takes, right? And a lot of people think, oh, I'm not good enough at this, at drawing, or I'm not good enough at this, or whatever. And so I watched his TED Talk, and it talks about how while he was being a professional artist with a bunch of studio mates and stuff, he started to lose kind of the love for it, because he wasn't working on things that he necessarily felt passionate about. They weren't his stories and stuff. So what he started doing was he would spend an hour on a page, just 1 hour on a page, and he made a book called Heck, and it was published, and it's still published. It still sells, and it was kind of like a thing that he didn't like he didn't write it beforehand. He kind of knew where he wanted to go or whatever, but it was like kind of reflections of his life and stuff. It was about like a guy going into heck with like his little like mummy like son thing, right? And it did well, right? And he made an entire book like this, and I was so inspired that I'm actually doing that now. And I'm starting a Substack, and I'll have it on there.
Oh, cool.
But you know, so like I spend 2 or 3 hours a week on it, and which isn't much time. But yeah, see, Heck ruled so much. It was really good. And
John knows John knows indie comics. You guys should check out Part-Time Comics, by the way. But yeah, but all right, I don't know what Heck is. I thought I knew.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I always think I know indie comics till like
it got
like you come on
hardcover,
my
dude.
show or
It
something.
was printed in hardcover. So Heck, and so he started doing that, right? And it inspired me to do the same thing because I'm like, oh man, I don't got enough time to like draw my own comic or whatever, but I totally do, right? I just have like a shorthand, you know, like
Yeah.
it's an hour a page. It doesn't need to be the best drawn thing in the world. It's just conveying a story, and it's just getting something out there. And you could do something like that and still be making comics. 2 or 3 hours a week and still be making comics, you know. It's like the One Punch Man, right? Which was kind of famous for like the author of that started. He didn't know how to draw, so he was drawing to himself, and the drawings were super bad. But people loved it so much that it eventually became so popular that a really good like artist jumped on it. Right? I think that's the story is a really good artist jumped on it and started drawing it out right. But the reason that the main character looks like he does is because that's how the original, or that's how the writer was drawing him, right?
Oh wow,
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, and like that, but the original drawings were like, you know, it's like a kid was drawing him, you know, because he wasn't an artist.
That's cool.
But he wanted to make a comic, so he just did it. And that's, you know, with comics, that's what it comes to. You don't have to be some spectacular artist, or even if you are, you don't have to like make every page look, you know, like the Mona Lisa or whatever. It doesn't have to be your Mona Lisa, right? You could do an hour a page and still get something out there that you can be proud of, that people will read, you know?
Nice.
So if you're super busy, that's maybe the answer, you know?
Yeah, like an hour. I mean, an hour, 3 hours a week or whatever. I mean, yeah. I don't, do you guys have kids, or you're?
Oh no, I don't
married.
have kids.
Okay, all right, I didn't know, because I know like that's a lot of you weirdos out there. They complain about that a lot. You know, like, I'm trying to make comics. I had all these kids. Like, sorry, man. I don't know what to
Yeah,
do.
people blame kids a lot for that, and
Oh shit.
I mean, you know, like
Jason does it. Jason's kids are older though, so they're like he just graduated, and
dude, Jason,
yeah,
he's a madman, dude.
Dude, like what? How many? What is it?
22
page spread. God damn, man.
Charlie
Stickney said something to him. I think it was Charlie that he was like, you know, one for Kickstarter 100. If you did a crazy print of that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I'd buy it.
I actually don't look at Jason's posts anymore because I'm so excited about his book. Like I've been excited, like I've been following it since the beginning, right? And I'm so excited that it's almost here now that I almost can't look. Anytime he says anything, I can't even look, because it's like I'm trying to like get it out of my mind because it's almost here, you know.
See, that's funny because I'm the opposite, Matt. Because I've laid the guilt on him several times. Not the guilt, but he's mentioned a couple times where he was like, I'm not going to have many copies left to sell. And when the campaign was going on, I was in a employed transition period, and I didn't have the money to back the book. And so I assumed, because I got, you know, and this is why you shouldn't assume stuff, but you know, I was like, oh, there'll probably be some extra copies. I can maybe snag one, you know? And he even mentioned, and he was like, you know, I live in Canada, and I don't think people realize how much it costs to ship. And the whole time I'm like, I'll pay it. I fucked up. I didn't have the money then. I was like, I'll make it happen. And then he was like, I don't know if I'm going to have like, but you know, I may not have that many extra. And so I would always like leave like a sad comment on his like Facebook post. I'd be like, oh, bummer, I was really wanted to snag one of them. And I always, and finally the other day he was like, we might be able to, and I was like, yeah. I was like, let's go. Anyway, I got really excited because I
lend you my copy, dude. I backed the shit out of that.
Everybody did that. It was so many like creators like that I know were like so excited about it, and I knew who he was, and I'd known him from like other creators talking about him, and like and kind of like offhanded comments through on threads and or whatever on the internet, and but like for that, like we ended up like a couple friends were like, oh Jason, you should do Blake's Buzz, and he came on for the Zoop campaign, and we had a great time chatting, had fun, and another one, like I've kept in touch since we've done the interview, so I can keep guilt tripping him on Facebook to get me to make sure I get me a Full Tilt hardcover. Like,
yeah, I mean he's great, but not only that, but Full Tilt, like it's such a special story.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh,
because
dude,
it is Jason's magnum opus, right? Like people, like it was years of watching him make this thing, and he did nothing else. Like he was just, I'm making this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean,
we're embarrassing him. Look,
no, Jason, we're talking about you forever. You'd watch him go get Slurpees. That was his only reward. This poor guy, all he did was make this magnum opus with these double page spreads, and he'd work on that. And every Friday he'd go out and get a Slurpee. And for years we watched him do this. Like, there's no way. Like, I was not surprised that thing got funded so fast. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I didn't know him then, so I didn't like all of a sudden like everybody was just talking about this book that he was talking about wrapping up.
For years.
I didn't know about the Slurpee. He didn't even tell me about this. I don't even think he talked about Slurpees in the interview we did.
He probably should get like funded by Slurpee, dude. Like 7-Eleven should give him some shit, right? Because like he was like advertising.
He should there should be a Full Tilt Slurpee flavor, like
yeah, dude. There should be, dude. I would buy that. I haven't been to a 7-Eleven in like years.
Yeah, like if everybody who's watching the stream could see it, if you happen to listen to this audio only later, but Matt's eyes just got like huge and lit up like a child on Christmas, like when he was like Full Tilt Slurpee. I haven't seen anyone that excited in a long time.
Listen. I know that the guy who runs the Slurpee division at 7-Eleven is listening to this right now. He needs to go and get this to happen. I don't care if it's a one day only. I'll buy 90 of them. I'll have them in my freezer.
some special edition cups, a fucking or like a Slurpee cup with a gun handle that you.
Oh, dude. And then when you're done drinking, there's like a thing that unfolds into a 22-page spread of like that was in the cup the whole time.
It like rolls out. That'd be amazing.
I like that he made that spread, and they couldn't even print it. It's so gigantic that it cannot fit in the book.
I do remember seeing that the first time he like laid all the pages out and took a picture of it. Also, Pierre wants to remind us that they're called ices. Sometimes they're called Slurpees on the menu, but the machine says icy too. I live in a weird part of America where there's some weird Slurpee icy crossover, Pierre. You never know what you're going to find.
I'm guessing from his thing is from Scotland.
Yeah, I would assume.
This is BBC Radio.
Sure. Where are you, Pierre? Tell us. Send us coordinates.
I only ask because one of the coolest jobs I ever did was never even seen in America. It was only seen on the Sky One network in England, and it had like 330,000 viewers. And it was Stan Lee had a TV show called Lucky Man. It was called The Lucky Man. Oh, he's in Memphis. Well, that's a very misleading. But yeah, so he did this thing called Lucky Man, and for season 2 they wanted to make like motion comic shorts that they showed on their network, right?
Okay.
And I was asked to do one, and just randomly, and I did one, and so each of them had like an actor from the show would do like the narration and read the part of it and stuff. And mine was like about the past, and it had who was it, Joe Kennedy or whatever, having this lucky bracelet, and he did a bunch of stuff. But it was from the viewpoint of his bodyguard. His bodyguard was supposed to look like Stan Lee. So Stan Lee himself, Stan the man, narrated my cartoon.
Whoa!
Yeah, he read the whole thing. It was a couple years before he passed, but I think it was one of the last things he actually had worked on. And so he like read the whole thing, and I've never gotten to see it because I can't get Sky One here. So like,
Wow.
I don't know if anybody saw it. I don't know if it turned out well, but it's still pretty cool.
That's insane. That well,
Yeah.
that's like Jeff Lemire did that. Uh, he had that. Oh God, what Kings County or Grass County or what? No, wait,
Oh
that's
yeah.
Kent or whatever it's
Grass
called.
Kings or whatever. The Grass
Yeah.
Kings. Yeah. Yeah.
But they made that TV show, and I heard it's good, but
It's a
it
TV show.
released in Canada, so the only way you can watch it here, you can't even like, dude. I looked, I was gonna like pay for a month for a service just to get it in a month, right? There's like 8 episodes or whatever. I was like, I'll watch it in a month. I'll pay $10 for it. And you can't get it, and so you got to get like a fucking VPN, and
Oh shit.
I don't, man, I'm not dumb because I can figure out streaming and some light editing. And so like I can work my way around technology, but the VPN shit confuses me and I don't
Yeah.
really understand. And like I don't want to fuck up my fast internet because that affects my streaming, which I do several times a week, and like so I don't want to like mess with my internet and
Yeah.
but anyway, it's same
I
guy.
didn't even
I
know that
really
was a
like to
thing.
watch that, but of course now like even if we do get to watch something, they could take it away from you. Like I one of our at Invader, the Neurocron, the Kickstarter we're doing at Invader, um one of the co-writers, she was talking on a show last night they did on wine and comics pairing, and she was like, she was the lead writer, she didn't say what it was, lead writer for a Disney Plus show that got taken off of Disney Plus and now it's nowhere. So she got this cool job. They
Like Willow.
made this thing and it was on the service for a second. And now it's nowhere. And you can't now you can't watch it. And now there's even a new discourse on piracy now because of all this digital weirdness going on with rights and what's available. And how even if you buy digital content on a service, you're not guaranteed to keep it forever, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy, right? But I mean it is what it is. But so yeah, anyway, everything's all weird and gnarly.
I worked at a company that did that to people and it really sucked. I
Really?
worked at a digital comic company. I worked at Madefire, and it was like motion comics, But
Okay.
we went out of business, and once that happened, they shut down they had to shut the servers down and everything, and so everybody lost
Oh shit.
everything. Like I think they gave a little bit of time, like a month, where you could download stuff.
Mhm.
But if you didn't go to your app and like figure that out, it's just gone. It was just gone, which is crazy. It was kind of like there's a video game company I think that did that too, right? Like I forget. I don't know.
Oh, there's like I know like there's some stuff like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games had some DLC, and for a while like you had to like buy an Xbox 360 hard drive or something like that had the DLC still on it, and they were selling for like hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Oh,
And so like just so that yeah, there was like some stupid stuff like that. And so yeah, now basically like so yeah, a lot of that stuff like you can't they like shut the servers down. So you
well, this is
can't
that Kojima game too, right? The Silent Hill that never
well,
was.
that just got canceled. They like put a demo out.
But people sell
Everybody,
that like PlayStations with that
yeah,
demo on it.
to get the demo, yeah. And now I guess there's another Kojima just put a new one out, I guess, or something maybe. I need to read
Oh,
more about it, but there's a new Silent Hill demo thing you can download right now for free.
really?
And Kojima's been kind of talking about working on stuff, but everybody thought it was the sequel to Death Stranding or whatever. But now I don't know. He might be working on a new Silent Hill. I don't know. It's weird. I swear I thought it was real. I hope it's not fake news. I hope I'm not out here talking about fake Silent Hill news.
Well, I mean that one that where you're just walking around that house in a loop or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, that's like that thing is like legendary.
yeah.
It's
Dude,
so good.
I don't do horror. I love horror movies and live for them. I love horror literature. I love horror comics. I love horror manga. Horror video games like scare me too much. I like the interactive part of it maybe, but like I get stressed and anxious and like my hands.
It's like not fun.
Yeah, I get like
Yeah.
I'm like, and it's which is weird because like I love being scared. So it's not just that. There's like a weird anxiety. And so like the only time I can ever really do it is if like other people are over and we're all kind of taking turns or playing together. But it stresses me out, which sucks because like my buddy just beat like Alan Wake 2 and was like, that was one of the coolest games I've played in a while, and I'm like, no, like I don't want to do that. Like I want to do it, but I can't. I'm like weird.
There are these games. I think they're called the Dark Pictures like Dark Pictures anthology series.
Yeah.
And I play those every time, but they are very stressful because if you make the wrong choice, that character's dead.
Yeah.
Like just dead. But that's kind of like what I like about horror just in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is out of all the genres, like horror has like the most suspense, like for like you don't know if these characters are going to make it out. You know what I mean? Like you're almost assured that not all of them are going to. You know, like,
yeah, you like start off planning for people dying, right? Like who's going to be first? You know, that's usually how you're thinking. But yeah, it's like I remember the Amnesia games. Like I remember playing the first one of those and like the big lumbering creepy thing, and it was like it was just like unenjoyable. The first Dead Space, I loved it,
dude,
but it fucking terrified me. You know, like I was just
that's a stressful game. Dude.
I was like, and we also like, because I'm a what is it? The sadist, you do it to other people. Masochist, you do it to yourself, right? Okay, so like yes, because I'm a masochist, like when we were playing when Dead Space was out, because we had a nice like surround sound. So we like turned all the lights out. We're playing Dead Space with the surround sound, and we all get high, right? So there's like everybody's like passing the bowl around, and we're all fucking lit like Christmas trees, fucking trying to play this game. And it's just like, dude, like, oh my god, there were some times like I remember us all laughing at each other too, because it was like we would scream, we'd be like, and it was just like these like moments like that. And yeah, I don't get like that watching a movie. I had some weird stuff happened to me when I was watching Skinamarink in theaters, which reminded me of playing horror video games, like the anxiety and the tension and the discomfort. But yeah, generally, like it's not an enjoyable experience for me. And it would
that was a hard movie, man. That's a hard movie to watch.
Yeah, and like I remember, dude, like, oh my god, I think probably 13, 14 people walked out of it. One of the things that
ghost was a scumbag. Like as far as ghosts go, right? Like when you're like rating ghosts, like that ghost, I mean, I think he
takes your toilet away,
laws, dude. Yeah, like he's like picking on little kids, dude. Like I mean, as far as a ghost, like if other ghosts must be looking at that guy and being like,
yeah, like that dude's
come
a prick.
Dude.
And then you find out like at the end, it was like hundreds of years or something. Like it was like some weird time dimension. Like I don't know. Yeah,
he's like, play with me, and they're like, I'm just trying to sleep, and he's like, just play with me, like throwing shit at him and stuff. Like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that was my sister was so mad. She was like, I cannot believe you made me go see that. And then my brother-in-law and me though, like, because at first none of us we were like, what the fuck just happened? You know, and then like on the way home, like when we started talking about it, like Kyle, my brother-in-law, and I, like we kind of started getting more into it when we were talking about it. And then and there were dude, I'll never forget like that part where he's in the parents' room and he's like, look under the bed, and you're like, don't look under the guy, and then he does, and then like nothing happens, and then the dad's like, do it again, and you're like, god damn it, don't do it again, and he does, and you're just like all right now my body's tingling thinking about that moment. But I remember
he's like 4 years old, dude.
Yeah,
he's like this little like dumb 4-year-old, like, okay, I'll look under the bed.
Check out under there. We're all like, ah. But so after the show, come home.
Ghost is a scumbag, dude.
It's like 4:00 in the morning. Bruce needs to go outside. So I'm like, God damn it, Bruce. And so I let Bruce outside, and I'm like trying. He's not wanting to come in. So I have to go outside because sometimes he was hopping the fence for a while. So like I'd kind of go outside and check on him. And so I'm like, Bruce, and we got this big floodlight, but it like cuts off at night, like in the backyard. So there's like lit and then supreme darkness on like one side of the yard, right? So I'm standing out. I just remember standing out in the backyard. My eyes are still seeing the fuzz from all the fucking grain of sitting in that fucking theater.
You're hearing whispers.
Yeah. And so like my eyes are still messed up from the contrast and shit. So I'm like seeing grain everywhere. I'm like yelling for Bruce. I don't hear anything. It's dark outside, and like a terror swept over me, Matt, that I have never experienced before. you know, and I was like, oh God, I don't like this. And I got like cold and clammy and freaked out. And then finally like Bruce came in and I was like, I hadn't realized it. I was holding my breath. And when like Bruce ran past me, I was like, and then I went inside and I was like legit uncomfortable with like this short-term PTSD from seeing fucking Skinamarink earlier in the night. So like, regardless of like whether you think it's a good movie, I still don't know if it was a good movie or not.
Yeah.
It did things to me physically, emotionally. Like,
would you say that movie is the one that scared you the most in your entire life?
No, well, that maybe that I remember. No, it made me uncomfortable. But the scariest I've ever been watching a movie was The Dark and the Wicked, I think.
Oh, I don't think
it's a Shudder original. So if you got Shudder, you can watch it. But I watched that by myself one night. That was one of like a random, like September through November. I watch way too many. I go through like all the top horror lists of the year and catch up on shit I missed for the spooky season. And that was like a random, like one that people were like, oh, this is like a high rated one that people aren't talking about a lot. And about halfway through the movie, I caught myself sitting in the dark, you know, watching this by myself, just clenched up, dude, just like, and I'm like, my arms are tired, you know, and I kind of realize, I'm like, why are my arms tired? And I look down, I'm just holding myself. I'm like, oh God, why am I doing this? But,
was it called Dark and Mystic? I'll have to check that out.
The Dark and the Wicked.
Dark and the
Wicked. And there's this part, man, this dude comes up to the door and he's like, you like, no, he's not right, you know, and he's like telling these people, he's like, just come outside. And it's so his voice and everything is very, very uncomfortable. And these two people are like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And they're blatantly like, we're not going out there. But this dude's just like standing in their front lawn and he's like, just come outside. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And it very like, very smart cinematography, great acting. That movie fucked me up. And that's one of the last, that's actually like been for the last several years what I rate other horror movies on, because I have not had a movie scare me like that. And I've never had a movie made me feel like Skinamarink made me feel.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you can't say Skinamarink was unsuccessful, even if you didn't dig it. Like it's worth it. And just everybody, like everybody talking about it. And I remember I read online, like, cause we were pretty sure we were going to go see it. Cause we in right next to Kansas City is this Overland Park town. And it's like a fancy Kansas town. And they had their big theater was playing it. There was like the one local place playing it. So we're like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Everybody's talking about it. Like people are like, oh my God, this movie fucked me up. Like I'll never be the same. Like, you know, and it was like, and so like, I'm reading all this stuff. And so I start reading like the reviews and the comments and stuff. And everybody starts talking. They're like, don't go see this movie high. They're like, don't get high before you see this movie. Everybody's like, whatever you do, don't get high. So like, what do I do? Like we fucking go to the dispensary and I'm like, I want the fucking strongest shit that you have. Like I actually like looked it up. I went, cause you can like go to the websites now.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, there's like, you can like, or it like lets you search. You can like search like what's cheapest, or you could search for like, what's the strong, like search by potency. And so I was like, what's boom. And so like we go in and I still don't, I always say gorilla cum. That's not what it was called, but it was like gorilla spunk or gorilla goo. It was a weird name that had gorilla on the front part of it. But anyway, like we fucking get lit. And then we go to Whataburger. So we got food and then went to this movie. And like, so the first part of the movie, we're just all fried. Like, and we had to sit really close to the screen. So Skinamarink experience in a movie theater chair, like up.
I watched it at home, dude. I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, it was a lot. It reminded me of like those scenes in movies when like the cartel has people like tied up in a stone cellar, and their like eyes are open and there's like strobe lights and heavy metal music playing for like days at a time.
The images, yeah. So I have a tie for my scariest movie.
All right.
One was Blair Witch.
Okay.
And it's because I was like, I'm old enough to have been, you know, young enough to go and watch that movie. Huh?
When we thought it was real?
Do you remember? We thought it was real.
Yeah, I
And I
remember
remember going
thinking
and
that
seeing
shit was
that.
real, dude.
Oh yeah, like all the viral marketing, all the things were like, this is a movie that we
Yeah.
found. Like we found this shit.
We
And I
found
remember,
tapes of dead college kids in the woods.
dude,
Like,
and I remember watching it, and when that movie ended, I was like, we have to call the military. Like, you gotta get it, you gotta fucking build, hey, because I think Clinton was the president. I was like, Clinton, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, are you not watching what's going on in this woods? There's a fucking witch there killing fucking college students. Like, you gotta burn that shit down, dude. Like, we
is
can't
the
be having that.
government gonna stop the Blair Witch? Like, what?
Dude, it was like serious. Like that's evidence. There's
Yeah.
a witch. There's
Yeah.
a witch out there. Go kill it. And I remember I was so angry when I saw that Entertainment Magazine or whatever cover, Rolling Stone magazine cover, where they're on it, just smile. The actors are like, "Hey, it was a joke." I was like, "Those fuckers, dude." There was
Yeah.
like a month of time that I went through of my life thinking there are witches and they are murdering us. You know what I'm saying? Like, do not go in the forest.
No, that's another. I remember going with my cousins to see that movie the night it premiered, and all of us were terrified. My cousin's friend got really sick watching it because of the motion. Like, because
Oh.
no one had really seen a found footage film like that yet. Like that was like the shaky cams and all the shit that we're used
Yeah.
to now. But like that was very new to a lot of audiences, right? So like that was, you know, and she like got like motion sickness from it, and so like, dude, like after we were like, oh my god, the fucking devil's in Gretchen. She's like, fucking gosh, shit. She's like, and it was like, we were all freaked out. And then yeah, I remember, the Rolling Stone cover. I also remember, but what I remember is the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah.
When she delivers an award, and they're like, oh, it's this chick from the Blair Witch. And I was like, you're dead.
Yeah.
I watched you die.
There's
on
a witch
film.
on stage. Why are
Yeah.
they inviting witches to the stage?
Yeah, I was like, what? And then yeah, it was like, what? It wasn't real. Like, yeah, I remember.
They fucking got me, dude. I thought it was real. Like
I think
was
they
like,
got America. I think they
Yeah.
got almost everybody, dude.
It's a tie between that and when I was a little kid, it was Ernest Scared Stupid. You remember that movie? Have you ever
Is that
seen
the one with
Ernest?
the tree?
Yeah, where he put
Where like there's like the hell portal from hell in the tree, and they're like coming out of
and
it.
the
Yeah, that
troll.
terrified the shit out of me.
Yeah, dude,
That was,
I was
not
so
a regular
scared.
Ernest movie.
No, I remember like I was so scared that my mom was like staying outside my door at night, and I had all the lights on, and I was like terrified, and she's like, "Hey, Matt, are you doing all right?" I'm like, "It's the troll," because like the troll could like mimic people's voices and shit.
Yeah.
Like it got a couple kids like that, right? And I was like, "That troll ain't getting me, man."
Oh,
You know, like
shit.
dude,
That's
that movie
crazy.
fucked me up, dude.
That what fucked me up as a kid. My dad let me watch that first Alien movie when I was really young, and that I don't remember this. Okay, like I don't like I was that young. Like I don't really remember the experience, but I guess like I was screaming at night. I had to sleep in my parents' room a lot. My mom was pissed at my like it was a huge fight between my parents. Like this. My dad let me because I guess for a couple weeks, like I was having like screaming nightmares, and every time my mom was like, "You let him watch that fucking movie."
So he basically your dad traumatized you with Alien.
Yeah, but
your
also,
mom was kind
like,
of right. Like, why are you doing this?
yeah, but I grew up with like a love and adoration of like horror and sci-fi horror, and like and that's and like Event Horizon is like forever one of my favorite movies now, and yes, yeah, Atomic, yes, same deal. I was a Catholic school kid, right? So like we were all like we were Catholic school kids, and I had the cool parents, so we would have like pizza sleepovers, and my parents didn't care if they caught us watching like porn or something, they'd freak out, but like murder horror stuff, like they didn't give a shit, right? And so like Candyman, like we watched Candyman, but I remember I was in 6th grade watching Exorcist, man. Oh my God. Me and my old buddy, Dennis Cummings, just like stone cold sober, VHS rented from Blockbuster, fucking going through the motions with that. And just, dude, that shit bothered me, man. I'll never forget like watching that the first time. Cause that's one where you know, right? Like people have talked about it, and you're like, it's an old movie. Is it still going to be scary? But people like almost talk you out of doing it. And then you got to like talk yourself into it, and then you do it, and the hype kind of pays off. And I love this. We need more Catholic. Oh, I'm not Catholic anymore, but I'm glad this guy gets where we're coming from. Yeah. This is, yes, it was a very, very, very crazy movie for back when you're like, God's going to save me from everything. Like, like, why did God save this little girl? And I've still yet to do a Ouija board.
What's
I've yet
that
to.
movie, Emily Rose, The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
Ooh, I don't like
What's
that. I
one
like
where
that
she's
movie.
like on the ground and
like
she's
the
like,
body stuff. Oh no, yeah, it freaks me out.
That scene fucked me up for like a week. Like
Yeah,
every time I closed my eyes, I would see that shit where she's just like,
yeah,
like on the ground.
and her face is like. She was a great actor. Like I don't like going back to that the shit she did with her body and like facial expressions and stuff. Like I think a lot of times that's why the horror spectacle is relied on, and it's just like no, we got to gross people out and throw blood at the screen because we're like, why would we pay actors to act when we can just do that? And it's like because you have to like you can have a great script and stuff, but you have to sell it. You have to sell that terror and that trauma and that fear, and that actor in Emily Rose, like that was part like the shape of her body, but also like if
she
you
apparently did that too.
Yeah.
Like she actually did that.
Yeah, it was there. That's not CGI. Like that's her doing it. And that like silent scream in her eyes that fucking permeates through whatever screen you're watching and invades your soul. That was a real look that she gave the camera. And it fucking just like transplants trauma from the screen to you like instantaneously. And that's a great horror moment. Yeah. Religious horror stuff, because of how I was raised, like it just I'll love that forever. Too.
That poor college student, the boy who like went with her, home. He saw that she was having a really hard time, and he brought her home, and he stayed with her that night.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I would not have been able to fall asleep. Like if I knew that the person I was in the bed with like had thought she was possessed by demons and was like seeing crazy shit, I don't think I'd sleep.
Right.
I'd stay awake, especially if I'm like 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I might not be able to help it, but like if I was 20, I'd be,
now you'll sweat till about 4 a.m. and then it's like,
it is just done. But like then, dude, 20-year-old, I would have been awake all night, dude.
Yeah.
But he woke up and he saw that shit. I want to know what his story is. Like, what happened to him? Like, his life is fucked, dude. Like,
yeah, because that's another based on a true story.
Yeah,
for real, wasn't it? It didn't come out later. It was like, no, we're just kidding. Like it was supposedly real.
It's like one of those Vatican things. Oh, so actually, I did. So this is kind of interesting. Is I actually went to. So when I was I used to live in San Francisco, right? And like for most of my life, and I would go and I do drawings that were like for like people to like hype movies up, So I would get like these early like press release screenings, right? And I went to the press release of The Conjuring #1.
Oh,
so it was like the very first one. And it was super cool because it was like in the huge theater, like the most, the biggest theater. And all the cast was there and the director was there.
Whoa.
But then, what was her name? I keep thinking her name's Elizabeth Warren, but it's not. That's the politician. It's
wait, like his wife, the main actress?
Not the actress, but the actual person.
Oh,
what the heck was her name? The Warren. I keep wanting to say her name's Elizabeth Warren because
Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, Moraine. So the actual woman was there. And
shit.
Yeah, so she was there with the cast, right? And so she was like, she's super nice, smiley, like having a great time, like while they're doing like a post movie interview, And I will never forget that there was this guy who stood up and he asked her a question. He said, because I don't know if you remember the movie, but in the movie she had seen like a vision that really disturbed her, right? And I think in later movies they said, oh, the vision was her seeing her husband die, right? Ed Warren. And but at the time nobody knew what it was. And he stands up and this idiot says, hey, you remember that vision that you saw, like that really like fucked you up in the movie or whatever? What happened in that vision? I just really want to know. And she looks up at him and she says like, wait, say that again, like she didn't hear it. And he asked her again. And she's sitting there and she's like smiling and just she goes, slumps, right? Face drops, eyes shadow. You could see just instantaneously, he brings it up and instantaneously she just changes her demeanor.
Whoa.
Like just like a coin flip. Like she's just all of a sudden, on a dime. And as soon as that happens, the actress who played her is sitting next to her. She reaches over and she's like putting her arm around her, and her son-in-law or whoever, he runs up and is this guy who's like in the front seats, runs up and stands in front of her, right? And starts answering this guy's question with, like kind of like political stuff, like, oh, we don't talk about that because, like it's our way of conquering what she saw. And, just giving all this stuff,
Wow.
And I remember seeing that, and it was such a real moment. Like, because throughout that, people are answering questions, and she's super happy and cheerful, and she's answering questions. But then and there's that kind of like facade that people put on, like when they're in a situation like that, but at that moment you saw like a real reaction. You know what I mean? And if there was anything that like convinced me that maybe ghosts are real, it would have been that. Like that. Just her reaction to it was insane. Like she's not faking that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's intense. Yeah. I've never seen anything like
I haven't either.
Like I've people have told me stories and like, I don't not believe them. I've just never seen anything. The only thing that I've ever come close to is my dad used to work at this place called BTA, this Business Technology Association. It was like it used to be this Catholic high school, like way back in the day. And it closed, and then they added to it and turned it into like a building with suites that like companies could rent out. Like for a while, like Sprint had a big complex there and rented out suites for their tech people and shit. And there was a lot of like tech firms in there and shit. And it was supposedly like the original part that was the old high school had like the nuns used to stay there, and this nun died. And so forever there was this rumor that, that people would see her walking around. And there was one of the maintenance guys that my dad worked with, this fucking like huge rip dude who would drink this energy drink called Whoop Ass. So he like literally always had an open can of Whoop Ass on him, like anytime I ever saw him. And like, you cannot make the shit up. And like their break room had like stacks of these like Whoop Ass cans, like insane. But just this huge worked out, big fucking buff dude, like could like lift up anything. Like he would not go into this wing of the building. And the company knew that. They wouldn't even ask. They were like, nope, that's fine. We get it. And so like that always weirded me out when like when I learned that, and he was like, nope, I won't fuck. And it wasn't like, it wasn't like he got out of doing all this work. It was just every now and then if someone had to go over there, he'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. He would still have to do shit all over the complex still, And so he refused to, but like management, the main people that like coordinated all the maintenance, they no one batted an eye, dude. They were just like, nope, we get it totally. And like the other, like some of the business people, like other people knew, like some businesses like moved. They were like, hey, we'll stay here, but we want a suite on like the other side of the fucking building. Like, dude. So like, but I never saw anything. The only thing, like my dad like took me through there a couple, because I remember the first time and I felt weird. Like it was just like, I didn't like get cold or anything, but I remember like we were walking through, the alarm went off. My dad had to go there to shut off the alarm because he had the keys and shit and to reset everything. And so we're going through, and he, because the alarm went off, he had to go check a couple things and make sure like no one broke in and shit. And so like I was with him, and so we're walking through part of the building, and it's at night after close, lights are off, and there's floodlights on, but lights are all off. And he's like, by the way, this is where that nun walks around. And I was just like, fuck you, man.
You're
like,
already there.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, but I just remember feeling weird, but I never saw anything, but I just, even before he said that, it was just like a lot of like looking over my shoulder. Right. And I remember like always looking behind me, and but then he told me that. But yeah, I never saw anything, but there was definitely like real fear in that complex, like with employees. And that real fear was like replicated in management. Cause it wasn't like, dude, this is your fucking job. You're going to go down there and do what we tell you. They were very understanding and be like, we'll get someone else to do it. It'll be fine. So I was like, what is going on here? And what have these people seen? Like, so like that's,
dude, I'm open to it. I
am too. Yeah. I kind of I would like there to be, honestly.
There was a time where I actually tried, like I went with people, like, we had like a little group, and we would go to like haunted places at night.
I always wanted to do that.
Stuff. Yeah. I mean, like I did like a whole report on it for like a school project or whatever,
Oh, wow.
We went to all these like haunted places trying to see something. We never did. We had some fun, right? Like there were fun things that happened there, but we never saw any ghosts. But I mean, I think that like I'm open to the idea that they are there. I'm not going to say that there aren't, because I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I'm like that with everything, right? I don't know. like my grandma apparently had, you know, the vision or whatever. Like she saw ghosts all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about her until after she had passed, which sucks because I would have bothered the shit out of her about that. I would have been asking her that stuff like all the time. But she apparently had like, you know, the sight and had seen ghosts all, you know, all the time because she had like a near death experience and stuff, and apparently that like made it so she would see.
Dude, this is very similar to my late grandma Ragusa. Like
Yeah.
she lived with us when I was a kid and was always very, very, very religious. Right. And the sight for her was very much like a divine kind of thing. Right. It wasn't like seeing ghosts. It was like evil in people or like the you know, shit. I don't know, weird shit like that. Right. Supposedly, and my mom will tell me this story. Right. So my mom's never lied to me about shit like this before.
Yeah.
But my mom walked out one night and saw my grandma Ragusa because my grandma was like sleeping on the couch, like while she was staying with us for a while. And my grandma Ragusa sitting up. She used to have real long hair. Her hair's blowing everywhere, like blowing. Her eyes are kind of rolled back in her head, sitting there, hair blowing. Air conditioner's not on. There's no window open. There's no door. There's no fucking air blowing. Apparently my mom walked out there and saw her and then freaked out and like shook her and woke her up. She's like, what's going on? My grandma Ragusa had no idea what was going on. So supposedly that happened. And then she had a seizure one night. My dad used to be in the Knights of Columbus, like this kind of organization, like religious deal. And they do like Tootsie Roll drives for charities and dinners and stuff. And like, you know, a lot of parents at our schools, like the private schools, you know, we'd all go hang out and stuff. And I found out later that there was a lot of the parents just getting shit housed while we all played like outside. Cause there was like a lot of the guys they were drinking up there all the time. Anyway. But so there's this Knights of Columbus deal, and we went to like a dinner there, and they were drinking, you know, they used to have drinks and stuff there. And so we're on it. It's me, my mom, my grandma. We're walking up to the front door. We have like 3 steps that go up to our front door. And like my mom's fiddling with the keys. And then my grandma like flies back and like flies back, hits the concrete. Her head hits the concrete. She's bleeding. She's having a seizure. She shits herself. I'm little, man. But I remember that forever. It's terrifying. And then she ended up being okay. But later, like she told everybody that like she saw this man there that was like the devil that was like waiting for her, I guess, like while they were putting her in the ambulance and shit. And like, I don't know. So like I grew up with a bunch of stories like that. So like, but again, like, I don't think these people would lie to me, but I have also seen people like those churches where they like talk in tongues and stuff. And like, some people really do think that's real. And I don't think it is at all. Like, I think, you know, I think some of that's a sham. Right. So like, I think faith can confuse people. So you know, like, I don't think these people would lie to me, but like, what did my mom see in the middle of the night? You know, like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, memory is fallible. So I have questions. But I grew up with like creepy kind of stories like that. I never really experienced any, but you know, now, like, I don't, you know, I was one of the first people in my family that was like, I don't really know if I believe in God. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know if that's like my jam. I was like, there's like dinosaurs and evolution and shit. And like, you guys are like, no, that didn't happen. And I was like, but it did. But you know, so like there's, you know, there was some shit. And I didn't like the notion of like, don't ask questions. And it was like, why would you live in a world and not ask questions? Like, all humans should ask questions constantly.
Definitely.
You should never ever stop asking questions, right? When you stop asking questions, that's complacency, and that's dangerous, right? And so there's shit never sat well with me with religion. And then like all the money, and that was before like the pre-scandal shit that I also grew up in, right? And so all of that, like, yeah, I'm just not very religious, but it's funny, Matt, because like you, I'm still open to the possibility. When I am lit up or half drunk or feeling emotional and missing my old dogs, like I've said it live on here that like, I know it's stupid, but sometimes it's like kind of nice thinking the three of them are hanging out again because those 3 dogs like had a good, one of them was from a breeder, but 2 of them we brought in off the street and they all grew up together, and it was like they, anyways. So it's like it's funny, like you say shit like that, but then you're like, I don't believe it, and it's like, well,
yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I'm agnostic. Agnostic's when you're like, probably not, but I don't know. Like, I'm not smart enough.
I'm definitely agnostic, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the truth is like, we don't know. You know?
It's like aliens. Like, I hope they're there.
They are. I mean,
so like
sure my dad saw aliens. And
really?
Yeah, and like for most of my life, because he was in the military, and he worked on a top secret base in New Mexico, which I could talk about now because it's like been declassified or whatever. But like for the longest time, he couldn't talk about it, right? And it was like this mountain base, right? Like if you look it up, it's Manzano base, and it was this mountain base, and they had a bunch of nukes, and they tested a bunch of weapons. They were making lasers there and stuff. Like they'd take these huge lasers out in airplanes, they'd shoot the sand and make these huge glass sculptures that they had there and stuff, right? Like they were just testing stuff. It was super cool. But they had Foo Fighters showing up there. They had those blue orbs that would fly in, and then it's like kind of look and then take off. And there was an Air Force base that was close by that they would, every time, and my dad was a patrolman. So he would go around his truck late at night with a partner and just patrol around the outside. And, a couple times he saw these things, and they call in, these planes to come in and get them, but they'd shoot out of there super fast, right? And he for the longest time he would not tell us about it until he started seeing online that people were talking about Manzano base and that this stuff was out, right? Like people were talking about this stuff. And so then and we would make fun of him all the time, like, come on, Dad, like tell us.
Dr. Tom knows exactly what you're talking about. This is crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah, and so he would, he would always get red-faced, and he would never talk about it. And then eventually, once he could talk about it, he just started talking about it like crazy. Like he was just telling everybody. Like he would just tell people in stores and stuff. Like he was just talking about it because he finally, after like 40 years or whatever, finally could talk about this. And
you showed up at a good time, Melvin.
Oh yeah, we're getting into aliens.
We're getting into weird religious stories and weird alien stories. This is like where I've wanted my show to go forever, and it's never happened until today.
Well, yeah. So like he saw this stuff, and he's actually writing a book about it. So I'll let you know when that book comes out. Half of the book is fake, though. Like he took some liberties with it, but the stuff, but the stuff that's real is that the big blue light would come and be floating over the fence, and they'd call these jets to come and chase them, and they would shoot off.
Oh, so you guys know each other? Okay, okay.
Oh wait,
cool.
Doctor. Oh, is this? Let me guess. This is Joe. Is this Joe? If this is Joe, I used to work with Joe. Joe's a fantastic human being. Now, Joe is a guy who's got a ton of stories, and he's worked in different industries. He was like making a Daredevil game and stuff. Joe's awesome. I won't say too much because I don't want to like put him on blast.
He says
dude, hell yeah. Yeah, Joe's one of my favorite people. Hi, Joe.
Melvin, I just grew up with it. Like I mentioned, I watched Alien when I was really young, and then for a huge portion of my youth, like with sightings and Fire in the Sky and all these like big alien stuff that was going on when I was a kid, I spent a large portion of my youth just totally convinced that aliens were going to condemn me. Like at night I'd be going to bed like tonight's the night. Get ready. Get ready. You're like, they're coming.
Well,
and it never happened.
Right. It's like, we've been saying forever, people used to give UFO sighting people like the biggest amount of shit, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. You got, we always, it was like, generalized that anybody who saw a UFO was some redneck out in the middle of nowhere that's just making stuff up. You know what I mean? Like they got the most amount of shit ever. And it turns out it is all real. Like it all came out. The government knows about it. Like, it's a thing, right? When
they said that when they aired that congressional hearing clip on Twitter, and I had to like leave Twitter and go to like a real news site and make sure it was real and make sure, because I was like, I've wanted to hear this forever, but they were like, yeah, these UFOs are real. There's like some footage, and like, the world was on fire and everything was burning, and so like now they were like, yeah, UFOs are real. That we got pictures, and everybody else was like, everything sucks and it's terrible right now. And I'm like, they just said that aliens are real. Because, dude, for the longest time, I thought the real terror of aliens, I'm going to tie this last chunk of conversation all together in a genius way right now. I used to think that the most terrifying thing about aliens is what the world would do when the aliens showed up and everybody found out that they were wrong about God. Because every fucking Christian, when they find out that like, oh, we weren't made in God's image, we are a being in a spectrum of numerous beings that are at different evolution periods than we are at, that may be more advanced or even behind, but regardless, like we're not the sole thing anymore. We're not this special entity, that we now know that like the cosmos wasn't fucking Christmas decorations that like some man in the moon like snapped and lit up and he was like, I made this for you guys, ain't it pretty? Like, you know, and so like that's what I was always fascinated with. Like if the alien invasion ever happened, or we really found out about it, or there was a sighting, or like something like real hard evidence of like real beings in the world, and like, or in the universe, and what the mostly Christian world would, or not a heavily Christian world would do with that knowledge of like, we're not the center of the universe. We're not the most important beings in the universe. This ideology that most of us were raised on is already crumbling just at the notion of the existence of this entity. And I feel like that would cause a ruckus, to put it lightly. You know, like, nobody
cared.
Yeah. And I was totally wrong. Like no one gave a shit. And I was like, damn, like so much for that.
I mean, anyway. You know, I mean, the thing is I'm actually more scared of there not being aliens, not being ghosts.
Oh, right. Like it's creepier if like all of this was just for us. Like,
yeah. Like, can you imagine? We're this tiny speck in a monumentally unthinkable, huge universe, right?
Yeah.
We literally don't know where the end is. It's so fantastically huge. It's hard to even understand or fathom the idea of how big this universe is. Can you imagine if all of that was here just for this tiny little planet that has a couple billion people on it, 6 billion or whatever, maybe 7 billion now, but it's all here just for us. We're it. Yeah. And if this planet, you know, zigs when it should have zagged, and like hits you know, like the wrong, you know, heat pocket in the galaxy, and we all die, that is the end of life.
Yeah, yeah. Or
that's the end of
one
life.
Of us pushes the fucking trigger on a wrong deal, and everybody else pushes the trigger too, and then that's it too. Because like that's what I don't like. Like why do on the planet that we live on, that we all require to be alive, why do we have enough munitions to like destroy it numerous times? Like who's benefiting from that? No, like no, like it's so yeah. It is very depressing. Like we all have our own gun pointed to our own heads with our fingers on our own triggers, and we're it. If we're done, nothing comes back from that, and we're all itching to pull that trigger for dumb reasons. Like,
could you imagine that? Like if life on this planet ended, like that honestly, that's the scariest thought like ever, right?
Yeah.
Is if life on this planet ended, if there is nothing else out there, then that means all history would be done forever. Yeah. So that the galaxy would continue on with nobody caring ever for the rest of ever, dude. That's the scariest shit. I mean, just thinking about that is scary. You know what I mean?
That's a lot. Yeah, that's great. Just a continuing.
So go to sleep with that existential terror. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like when you're a kid and you're trying to think of like eternity, you know, especially when you're like, when you're learning about heaven and hell, and you're trying to think of like forever happiness as opposed to like forever torment, and trying to like just conceptualizing it like the worst pain and terror forever in hell. And you're like, okay, like 24 hours, that's long. Like, then you're like a week, and then you're like, no, but it's like unlimited weeks. It's unlimited hours. It's like, you can't, then you start trying to think of that and you're like, oh no. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I almost gave that speech. I was a best man at my little brother's wedding. I almost gave that as a speech. I was like, this planet is the only one that has life in the entire galaxy. Like, think of how important your marriage is. I was like, no, that's not a good idea.
That's funny. My speech at my sister's wedding, I was fucking drunk, man. I was drunk. I was drunk, and and we got these really good like disposable vapes, and I hit it way too much. So like I there was a mixture of things going on. I wasn't thinking clearly. Anyways, I get up to give this speech. I start my speech like it was a couple parts were on Snapchat, but no one like recorded the whole thing. But they give me this mic, dude, and I'm fucking like wearing a Ninja Turtle, like a button up Ninja Turtle shirt, right, to my sister's wedding, and I'm like, buzz, buzz, babies, and like a lot of people knew the podcast, so like they were, but I started talking about like the podcast and working for Metal Ninja Studios, and I was like talking about like the great year I've had, and my mom was pissed. My mom, and this is all a plan, right? It was like, but my mom is like covering her face, and even like my sister and my brother-in-law are like, where are you going with the, you know, and I was like talking about like how it was a big year for me, and because I even said, I was like, I know everybody's telling stories about these two, but I got the mic and I'm gonna fucking talk about me. And I said that, and so people are laughing. I'm telling stories, and I'm like, you know, I was like, yes, it's been a crazy year chasing dreams, but one dream I didn't know I had was seeing my little sister happy. And oh, dude, I won everybody. It was perfect. And then my sister started crying. My brother-in-law was like, I got everybody. And it was like, I spent just enough time
segue, dude,
aggravating people. Like right when it got to the point of like, Blake, shut up. I got him, right. And so I was like, so yeah, a couple people were like, yeah, that was good. But still my mom was like ashamed of it. And I was like, Mom, it was timing. Like, you don't understand the brilliance of it. And she's like, I was embarrassed.
Moms, yeah. What are you gonna do?
Oh my God, Ronan, I should have been like, guys, go to blakesbuzz.com and check out these Kickstarters of my business. Yeah. Support, love, and indie comics.
These Kickstarters, you know, that's one of my dreams. Yeah.
I suck. I indie comic creators give me money. I suck them dry to fucking try and lift up their dreams. I am the ultimate grift. No,
buzz, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. But yeah, so that was my wedding speech that ended up going, and there's a couple people have pictures of it too. It's like you can see me like with the microphone and people are laughing, and you can see like my sister being like, oh my God. And then there's another picture of like everybody laughing, and then there's another picture of my sister like crying. And I was like the waves of emotions during my epic wedding speech. And then it was shortly after that where I fell asleep at the family table. I just sat down and fell asleep, and everybody was dancing around me and took pictures.
I kind of want to see these pictures. You got to post these.
I did. I thought I did. They were floating around on Facebook for a while.
I saw one of you giving a speech, but not sleeping.
Oh yeah, I'll have to bring it back. Cause yeah, I get like she danced. Sarah and my sister and my dad danced, and I lost it. I was crying when they were dancing, and then like during that, like the best man was like, "Hey Blake, why don't you go sit at the family table?" Because I'm just like behind the wedding party, like. It's so beautiful. And then so they're like, Blake, go sit down. So like I go sit down at the family table, and I'm like, my aunt and cousins, everybody's there. I fucking pull out this vaporizer, take a big old fucking rip, blow it out, pass out. And then the next thing I know, everybody's waking me up. They're like, Blake, car's loaded, get in, we're going home. I was like, all right, let's go.
Dude, weddings are the best. Dude.
Yeah, I had a blast. I found out that there wasn't a lot of time. Like I made it most of the night. So like when I fell asleep, it wasn't it wasn't like I'd made it most of the night, luckily. But yeah, anyway. Speaking of most of the night, I've kept you for 2.5 hours. We have been chatting. Everybody, lots of people are still listening, hanging out. The pigs sound like ending of The Hangover. Yeah, it wasn't like that bad, but I was feeling no pain. They had an open bar. I had a flask on. I was two fisting whiskey Sprites, and then like after the flask went out, and then yeah, we were having a grand old time. It was a good man. The venue was good. Food was good. It was like, as you know, like my sister had a great wedding. Looked amazing. Like And he's a good dude. I feel, he's like a good part of the family, and he treats her well. So yeah, it was all around like a really, really good wedding experience. It was fun.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm glad it happened too, because they're not getting it from me. I was like, sorry, fam. Like, I'm too busy talking in a microphone. So what I'm mad about though is like some people, but some of the family bought her like a $4,000 dress and all that. And I was like, okay, like who wants to like invest in Blake's bus? Like, that's what I'm married to. No one wants to fucking donate to that. Anyway, that's a joke. I didn't really say that to family. I thought about it, not gonna lie, but no, she deserved it. Even though like she doesn't deserve it because she was on Tinder.
Well, you know what you got to do, Blake?
What?
You gotta make a fake wedding.
Oh yeah, just a
fake wedding, and have the wedding gifts be like one of those like honeypot things where people put in money to like the wedding. It didn't just fall off at the last second, like. Or you can go full on, like you go to the wedding and the bride is like a mannequin, and just make everybody think that you've lost your mind. And they don't want to say anything because you're like, yeah, I mean, do you don't like her? Like act like she's actually talking.
You'd be like waking someone up when they're sleepwalking. You can't do that.
It's like that Steve Cantrell, what was that? Steve, what's his name? The guy from The Office. He did that movie where he was like, his girlfriend was a fake mannequin or whatever. Right.
No, Ryan Gosling didn't he? He did Real Girl or something.
Yeah, maybe it was Ryan Gosling. Yeah,
and he like brings her over. Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird.
Yeah, do that. Just do that and have it like a honeypot, and then you could just use all that money on Blake's Buzz.
Nice. I thought you were gonna be like just make a fake wedding and like all the registry is like new microphone cables, mic stand, lights. Like. What are they gonna do? Like, I'm setting the wife up for OnlyFans, guys. This is how we're paying for the wedding. But yeah, no, that is maybe one day. We'll stream it. We'll have to like live stream my sham wedding to the mannequin girl.
It'll be like the Fire Fest. It'll be like Fire Fest.
Oh, the concert? Yeah.
It'll be like that. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, Ricardo. First of all, he says he will marry Blake's Buzz. Thank you, sir. And he also says it was right.
It was right. Yeah, I got it wrong, I guess. Yeah.
No, that is it's a good movie though. But yes, so I've kept you, Matt, for 2.5 hours. The soul we've covered numerous topics tonight. Like I said, dude, I had a blast. Like talking like horror, alien, and religion was like. Yeah, that just like invigorated me. Like I was like, yeah, I needed that. It's like that was awesome. But also like everybody, February 27th, or the 28th, if you go Wednesday shopping, right? But Brave and the Bold #10 is coming out. You got to check out this story. It's so cool. It's 12 awesome pages. The art's great, the story's great, and like really everybody like go out there and buy it. Like I want like. Make this issue move some fucking numbers so they know to keep Matt around. We need him to do some lantern.
Yeah, we need some lantern. It's drawn by Mike Henderson, colored by Adam. I'm gonna butcher this is the last name. I'm sorry. Guzewski. I'm ending this podcast by butchering this poor guy's name. It's Guzowski. He's an awesome dude. I've hung out with him. Awesome colors. I just have no idea how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. I'm just going to own it. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Hey, the colors are great, though. They're very, very bright, popping got that you guys made. Very beautiful.
Mike and Adam killed it. Alex, as an editor, was awesome. Pick up How to Lose Guy Gardner in 10 days. His Constantine story is really good.
Nice.
And
I've always liked those DC anthologies and stuff that they do. They're cool. But yeah, it's man, I'm so happy for you, and I really hope this leads to more, whether it's from DC or another publisher or something, man. I hope more people get eyes on you, and if you're fucking, I love your art, but you're a damn good writer. So I guess if you're gonna start writing comics, way to go, like, because it's good, dude. And I would read it. I'd read anything you wrote. It's a strong.
Thank you.
It's strong, dude. And it's so hard. It's so much harder writing those like little self-contained. When you have less pages, it's trickier. And you and the whole team pulled that off. So yeah, everybody go get Brave and the Bold. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Real quick, Matt, where does everybody follow you? Like
www.matthardingart.com. I'm Matt Harding Art on Twitter. I'm Matt Harding Art on TikTok. Matt Harding Art on Instagram. So just Matt Harding Art.
Nice.
Yeah.
Everybody go follow him. He posts cool stuff, and he is a creator that you want to keep your peepers on him. I feel like he's on the.
Let me have your peepers.
Get those peepers.
Give me them
doing some cool stuff. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow night. I don't remember who's on my show tomorrow night. That's great. I have so much. We got shows the next few nights. Hold on, who we got tomorrow? Where's my calendar at? This is February. Today's the 7th. Tomorrow's the 8th, right? Yeah, tomorrow's the 8th. Oh, I got Eric Palicki on tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about Blacksmith Volume 2.
Dude, Eric is sick.
Yeah, Eric is. Eric, I think it's the 4th time Eric's been on my show.
He's great.
I told him, I was like, Eric, the PR people hit me up. They're coming back on my show. He was like, I'm not Brian Bendis. And I was like, shut up, dude. I love talking to you. And
yes, he is. He's better. You know?
Yeah, he's awesome.
I love Eric Palicki, dude.
Yeah, we'll be back with Eric tomorrow, and then Matt Sorcier with Sacrimony on Friday, I believe. Please remember, check out blakesbuzz.com for some cool Kickstarter stuff, some people that I'm repping. And yeah, you got to get Matt's premiere into Gotham City. Like I said, everybody get out there and buy it so they see it. Let him play out there more.
And let me know what you think. Post about it.
Yep.
So I could fill the void in my soul with compliments.
Make it real. Rent a plane, have it do a sky image.
Yeah, do a sky image.
Whatever you can to get the word out. All right, Matt, I'm going to keep talking unless I don't. So unless you got anything else to say, I'm going to play
good.
music.
Yeah.
My throat's shutting down. We got to stop. I can't. I've ran out of voice. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow night. Matt, awesome. Anytime. Always welcome here. Love you, bud.
You too.
It's Blake's Buzz Live.